Cheers, everybody. How's it going? We're present. Everybody can hear everybody. Okay. Okay, everything's good. Wow. Hi, how are you doing today? I'm doing all right. I suppose. I'm. Okay, here's. Okay, well, no. That's news. We'll give you news later. But just for now, hello, it's Gayfesh. Hi, Kitty Chick, Uncomfy, Mama Mephistopheles. Thank you, Lord Byron, so much for your $5 dono tier one sub gifted over to Uncomfy. Got you, homie. I saw Uncomfy was saying that they could not afford a sub right now, so enjoy your dicks, Uncomfy. Yes. And hello, Richard, in the YouTube chat over there on your lonesome for now. The red and blue lighting looks super freaking dope. I love it. Thank you. Technically speaking, this setting is supposed to be white, but it kind of looks a little bit more like an icy blue. So part of what we're doing with that is, so I'm doing the pagan thing. Like, I'm an atheist, but I appreciate the seasonality, the ritual seasonality of the paganism stuff. Like, and it allows me to have more fun with Christmas than I normally would. So, I'm not going to complain too much, but, I've changed the decor a little bit this week. The lights are, the Christmas lights are gone. These Christmas lights are gone. The area over here has changed around a little bit. So there's not nearly as much Christmassy stuff over here. This is a daffodil that I crocheted. Anyway, I believe it's pronounced Crimbus. My bad. I enjoy celebrating Crimbus through a pagan lens. So, but we're getting close to Imbolc is the next holiday. It's February the 2nd. And so I figured, since we're getting close to the end of January, which, oh my god, we're getting close to the end of January. Like, what is today? The 22nd? Is that what day it is? I am not good at keeping track of the date. Oh my god, it's the 24th. Why? So it's the 24th now, which means it is very, very near. Yeah, the year is already almost a 12th over. That's 8%. I found out my birthday is on Imbolc, January 31st. Well, yeah, so you can kind of celebrate Imbolc whenever around that time. Sometimes people like to celebrate on the full moon nearest the holiday or whatever. I don't know. What's up, Sapphic Hive Mind? Oh my god, Kitty Tick says, I'm not okay. Baby arrives in just over 3 months. RIP. So I wish good fortune upon you and your little one. 3 days ago was my half birthday. What's up, Donu my whoa? Where does the time go, Padfoot Sam? Oh man, I'm starting to wonder if saying all of your names is a bad idea. So first of all, hit the like button. Okay, we're about to chill for a little bit, and then we'll talk about the politics stuff in a little while. This is how my show goes. The first hour, we relax. We drink our coffee or tea or whatever you got. We chop it up a little bit, and then we'll get into the politics later, but we need to feel human for a second, okay? So hit the like button if you're here for that. And if you're not, then hit like before you leave. But anyway, I was about to say something. Ooh, I had something specific that I was about to do, but it wasn't something that related to anything that any of you just said, apparently, because nothing that you're just saying is triggering what I was about to talk about. Oh, Richard Francois mentions the amazing atheist YouTuber. Oh yeah, something about saying all of your names. True. Okay, I'll get back to that in a second. The amazing atheist, though, is he in the news again? People are talking about him again. I really didn't know that he was still relevant, but apparently he called out Demon Mama and Vosh for something. I have no idea. Is that something that I should pay attention to? Anyway, so in the Discord server, if you're not in my Discord server, that's understandable. Not everybody is on every platform these days. But if you'd like to join, links in the places, you'll find them. And someone was in there who I had previously banned from the YouTube chat. They were banned because they were initially saying, like, oh, I'm not bothering to wear a mask right now. And I was like, yeah, you really need to. And they were like, arguing with me a bit, and I was getting annoyed, and I was like, okay, I don't want to deal with this person arguing with me about the fact that they should be wearing a mask. It's not negotiable for me. And so I just blocked them from the chat. Then they came onto the onto the Discord server, and they were like, hello, I would like to be unbanned, please. And I will admit that this was probably a bit cunty of me. I will say that they were like, please unban me. And I was like, what were you banned for? I can't remember actually if I knew that that's who that was until after they clarified some of their statements. I would have to go back and read some of the chat again. But, like, I wanted them to tell me why they got banned. Like, if they could understand what the problem was with their behavior. And so I was like, they were like, I only made a little joke. That's why I got banned. And I was like, what was the joke about? And then eventually they clarified, like, yeah, I was the person I made a little joke about not wearing a mask, and now I'm being good and I'm wearing a mask and I'm not going anywhere. And it was just really weird. The whole conversation was deeply manipulative and very strange. And, Quiet 10s and 11 is here. What's up, Silent? Love ya. Good to see you. But yeah, and one of the things that this person said, Lord Byron was there. You can vouch for me that eventually one of the things this person said was like, it feels so terrible that you banned me because I thought we were friends. Like you would mention me by name. And so, and I was like, what are you for real? Like I need to be more careful about this, I guess. So, because obviously it makes you feel welcome if I greet you by name. But I also feel like most folks in here, like, ought to understand that this is my job. Like, I have a job that is to host this show and, host a space for you all to have a community. And I interact with you all in this kind of weird one-way dynamic. It feels one way to me, and it's kind of one way to you. Well, I mean, that's kind of the problem, is that it feels more one way to me than it does to you. And that's what the parasocial relationship is. If a streamer says your name and you think that makes you friends, you really need to work on your understanding of parasociality, and that is not the streamer's responsibility. Yeah. What I hope is that this was just a young person who, hasn't been around for that long. And, because I remember Philosophy Tube did the episode about parasocial relationships, and there used to be way more conversation about it than there is now, I think. I guess it's just a fact. And so maybe people don't feel the need to comment on it as much anymore. But yeah, that person was either very low on emotional intelligence or a pretty convincing troll. Yeah, just they were trying like so many different ways of trying to get me to unban them from the chat. Like, they were like, you attacked me. And it's like, yeah, I probably did call them stupid or something on the way to banning them, but I just don't agree when people try to portray themselves. And it wasn't just me. Like, you all, a couple of you were talking to them, like Lord Byron was talking to them in the chat, and this person was like, you all are antagonizing me while I'm just trying to explain myself. And I was like, these people are trying to help you by explaining what's wrong with your behavior. They're not antagonizing you. Like, maybe you should follow the advice that they've been giving you and step away, right? But no, they just kept digging it deeper for themselves, and they got banned from the Discord as well. But so that's me having my first, I guess, run-in with like a kind of inappropriate parasocial relationship. Most of the time I don't have that type of experience. It was weird. I had been in talks with a creator to do a collab on talking about parasociality and how it's not just a bad word, but to have a more holistic approach to discussing how to approach and manage it. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and it's good to look at it from both sides as well. Hank Green made an episode of his Vlog Brothers show recently, I think, where he was talking about that it's also parasocial from the creator's end, but that's not really the topic of conversation most of the time. You know, that a person who's a fan who's having a parasocial relationship can be exploited in the sense that I could say, oh, hey, you know, if you were my friend, you would blah, blah, blah. You would buy my stuff or whatever. And, or I could like foster that false sense of closeness on purpose by like looking directly into the camera and addressing you as an individual. Like, it's possible for that to be exploited, which is why that tends to be the topic of conversation, I think. And the behavior on that end can become kind of obsessive. And like parasocial relationships have existed since forever. You know, teenage girls fawning over boy band members. You know, it's not like a completely new phenomenon, but I do think that the interactionality of things nowadays is more elevated than it has been previously. I struggle because sometimes you hit off with a creator in a way that makes you think you vibe well enough to be friends. Yeah. I mean, you know, I would love to be closer friends with a couple of other streamers. And it's possible that I will pursue those relationships at some point in the future. But at this time, it does kind of feel like I'm just an admirer who wants to be friends. And that's partially why I don't pursue those relationships, honestly, because I have no idea how those people are going to react. But we're also like peers. We have the same job. So I should be able to be friends with those people. It's dumb. I was talking to Riverboat Jack about how stuff like Taylor Swift saying go register to vote was a positive utilization of a parasocial relationship. Yeah, it can be utilized for a positive way. Like, if I were to, for example, start posting exercise content, or if I had maybe one stream that was like my exercise stream for the week. You know, if I did a phone screen, like a phone stream from like my little exercise spot, and because I know other streamers do that, that's a parasocial, almost like a do it with me kind of thing. Honestly, I think if I had a better quality phone, there is a good chance that I would do things like a doing the dishes stream every once in a while. That's just like, hey, I'm not paying attention to the chat. If you want to just body double with me and do this dishes shit, then let's go. You could vibe well enough to be friends, but the situation that would make your friends, that would make you friends doesn't really exist yet, even if that potential might be there. You can't see potential as a present situation, though. True. I could see that we could be friends, but we aren't right now. We don't actually know each other well enough to be friends. Right. My hope is that this person gets to take advantage of their anonymity to be able to learn and grow from it and not have it follow them in the future. You know, if they figure their shit out in 3 years and they find a way to direct message me, I'd let it happen. Me with other sex workers, yeah. Just like I want to be friends with you, but also technically we're coworkers, sort of. Anyway. Does anybody know about what is going on with TJ Kirk? I guess Mama's going to talk about it on her show, which is starting in about an hour and a half. Demon Mama. Work friends. I mean, yeah, I guess so. But work friends is like a relationship that you develop when you have no choice but to be around those people. Does that make sense? I feel like with a fellow creator online, it would be more like we happen to have a similar job, but we have to be friends. Because that casual sort of, oh, we're just around each other every day. So I might as well talk to you because I like you the best out of all these other people that I see every day. There's also the possibility of forming real friendship with a coworker too. Yeah. I feel like I had a genuine friendship with a coworker after we stopped being coworkers, and it just got difficult to maintain. Paul Sago wants to debate Demon Mama and have TJ hook it up. I see. They issued a challenge. Is Demon Mama doing debates anymore? Probably not. IDK, it's weird. I just support you because you helped me through some of my own self-perception issues. I feel like you help others often, and I want to help add small good things to the conversation. I was never good at having friends that I've never been face-to-face with. It's just a fun community in a lot of ways. Yeah. If you do ever end up in the PNW and want to do want some homesteading tips for your property, I would be happy to help. But that is a different kind of situation. Yeah, at that point we would be near neighbors, and it's like, yeah, we could trade tips and tricks, or like if you're producing something and I'm producing something and we can trade stuff. Like, that's a whole different relationship, and I appreciate that the potential is there. Paul Sago is such an emotional debater, it would be a shit show. You could frame it that we are industry friends, I suppose. Yeah, like, I guess that's a decent way of framing it. Like, I am genuinely friends with, you know, other folks in the space who are also creators. So I guess we're like industry friends. My friends from the industry. We're just gonna take away Hollywood's teeth and start calling leftist streaming culture. That's the industry now. He wants a conversation, but the fans will see it as a debate. I wonder if they could have a chill conversation. Don't ask me for advice on this. Current GF is another sex worker I met through doing collabs. Whatever works, y'all. I think for sex workers, you guys having the same job before you started dating probably makes that whole situation so much easier to navigate. So you don't have any of that weird jealousy. No such thing as a civil conversation on the internet. We have civil conversations here all the time. Paul has had direct responses to Vash's drug segment that was harsh, but his separate video answering questions where he also mentioned Demon Mama indicates that he has a lot of respect for his tendency to control the conversation and generally agrees with him more than he disagrees. DBH, since I started watching, I get the impression you touch grass more than most streamers, and I appreciate you bringing in that energy a lot of the time. You know, that's a really interesting perception, because maybe it's just because it's January and I'm deliberately not touching grass, but I do not go out that much. I'm the kind of person who really wishes they could go outside more. I guess I do go to the gym regularly when I can. I'm taking January off. So here's a little mini announcement, y'all. I'm gonna take a vacation soon. I'm not exactly sure when, because right now, basically, I have had this backlog of work that I've needed to do on editing and stuff. Like, I'm still editing and uploading content from 2 or 3 weeks ago streams. And so that's part of why the last couple of streams, we've had some that are like, oh, this is kind of low key. We're not really doing anything important today. We're just playing a game or whatever kind of stuff, so that I'm not adding more to my editing plate. But what I want to do is work really, really hard to schedule out as much content as I possibly can, and then take a couple weeks, maybe, like at least a week. I'm going to give myself at least one whole entire week where I'm not streaming or editing or going on Twitter. Like, maybe I'll go on Twitter to check my direct messages, because I'm in a couple group chats that I want to check on, but like, I think most of it I'm just gonna not do. So, because I have taken breaks since I started streaming. It was almost 2 years ago, right? I started streaming as my full-time gig in February 2 years ago. And this, like, I've taken some breaks from streaming and I've reduced my streaming at times, but that was for me to do other stuff. Like, oh, I have a part-time job right now, or I'm moving, or something along those lines. So for this, I want to give myself a proper, actual, genuine human break. I'm sure that I'm going to end up doing a lot of cleaning during that week, but I just want to, be able to disengage because I basically work every single day right now. And so I want to get to that place where I'm caught up. Like I have all of my backlog of editing done. And then when I come back, I'll be like, all right, I'm back. This is my first stream for a week or two. And then from there, I'll be able to be like, okay, I'm just doing a regimented, I'm editing the day after the stream and getting it all done and staged out for the rest of the week and all that kind of shit. So I think I'll be able to do it. But yeah, so basically sometime soon, within the next month probably, I'm going to be taking at least a week off of streaming, and there will be content still coming up on the channel during that time. And if I can swing it, I will take probably closer to a week and a half or 2-week break, but we'll see. we will find out. It sounds like a very healthy thing for you. Yeah. It's the thing though about being self-employed is that you have to, you don't get time off. You don't get paid time off anyway. And so you have to provide your own time off. So, no matter what, I'm going to be losing out on a couple weeks of donations, which donations have been pretty slow anyway the last couple of months. So that's, I guess, part of why it doesn't seem like as big of a deal for me to literally just take off streams. But yeah, it's, at least I'll still have content coming out regularly that's making ad money. So yay. They travel constantly, so it's a major bonus to be in a relationship with someone who's going to the same locations as you. Oh, for sex workers, yeah. And there's enough wrestlers in the big companies that it's not like you can't get space from one another if it's necessary. It'll only impact your career if you let the company make the relationship part of the kayfabe. True. Put another way, you bring the perspective out of abstract internet shittiness and are good at bringing it to the level of, imagine saying this directly to a person's face. I appreciate that. I don't literally touch grass very much, but I apparently am one of the most down-to-earth creators in the space. That's what I'm taking from that, Lord Byron. That's the best. That's one of the best descriptions. You're so down to earth. I am very down to earth. That's me. I know that normally that's not the kind of thing that you should say about yourself, but I'm saying it about myself. I'm in the desert, so there is no grass to touch. You can touch. What's a replacement? Can we just say touching dirt? Get out there and touch some dirt. No worries, Corpse Candy. It's all good. If y'all can't afford to donate, I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm just commenting like, if I take time off, that's the other thing is I will not be making money during the active show because there will be no active show. Donations are a big part of my income. And I know that people have ups and downs with their entertainment budget. Go make friends with a rock. True. Earthbenders for the win. What's up, Violet? Touch Scorpion. Hey, Silent, thank you so much for your gifted tier 1 sub to Corpse Candy. Corpse Candy, enjoy your dicks. Green. Green. Wonderful. I am so stuffy, and I think that that's just my life now. I think that I'm just going to be stuffy for the rest of my life. It's terrible. Yes, thank you all. I appreciate y'all being here, too. Just chilling and hanging out and vibing. It's nice. It makes it more fun. I am perfectly capable of sitting here and talking to myself for 4 hours, but it's much easier if there are people here. Yes, having internet buddies is good. Granny's Gaming Wonderland. I just upped my leg lift weight to 50 pounds. Finally only have to put one plate on each side of the machine instead of mathing. Nice. Oh yeah, math is hard. Yeah, math is difficult. I've decided when I go back to the gym, which is going to be soon. I think, I was actually planning on going back to the gym this week, but I fucked up my ankle. And then, No, Jason Jones, no. $2 super chat. It's gonna take it a long time for it to come through on the Streamlabs. But Jason Jones donates $2 through super chat and says, "I felt pressure by Luxander and donated." No, so pressured. No, no. Um, Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. But so I was going to go back to the gym this week, and then I decided not to for a couple different reasons. And I realized, part of the reason that I don't want to go back yet is because that time in the morning when I usually go to the gym is that's prime time for me to be editing at home. And that way I also don't have to deal with like switching tasks back to working after I'm done working out. Yeah, so when I start my vacation, I get to go back to the gym. When I start my vacation, I will go back to the gym. Hear me out, dicks, but instead it says Gox. True, I need to get one that says Gox. Chatters MVPs to streamers. I can't disagree with that. I think the chatters really make it what it is. Oh gosh. Anyway, so what fun stuff is there that I've done this week? It is Wednesday, my dudes, and I think I already told you all that I watched Barbie. I'm starting to look at what seeds I'm gonna buy for this season because I have community gardening. And yeah, Mama earlier said you spend a good chunk of your streams talking about farming and gardening. That is literally as down to earth as you can be. I want to live in the woods. Like when I'm looking at land in the Pacific Northwest and I'm like trying to figure out where I would like to live, if there aren't enough trees on the parcel, I am not interested. There needs to be like a forested, wooded area on the property, and it needs to be probably like, frankly, at least half of the property. I want it to be wooded like that, and yeah. Lux, what is your dream vacation destination, assuming COVID does not exist? Oh boy. Honestly, I think it might be the first thing that comes to mind. The reflexive thing is France because of the food, and I know like enough of the language to probably get around. And yeah, I mean, a lot of them will speak English anyway, so, but the food and the cool art stuff. It's so easy to live in a wooded area here, even in denser suburban areas. Yeah, I want to be far away from other people. Because here's the thing. Here's the other thing, too. Amongst all of the different factors that go into my choice of where I'm gonna go live permanently is as climate change continues, other people are gonna have the same brilliant fucking idea that I have, which is move to somewhere like the Pacific Northwest. Not everybody, plenty of people will decide to move to Minnesota and other places like that. But yeah, so if I go and I'm like too close to other people, then there's gonna eventually be way, way, way more people than I want there to be. I want it to like stay relatively spaced out. So I guess a suburb is like explicitly not what I want. But yeah, like I get the impression that there's tons of wooded areas out there, especially in the western half of the states. Like Washington on the west side and Oregon on the west side have tons of trees, and then not always as much on the other side of the mountain range. The Cascades, that's the main one. But it's cool. It's good to know that even in the denser suburban areas that there are plenty of trees. That makes me feel better about it doesn't seem like it's gonna get too hot, partially because there are so many great trees. You want a bit of land that you can maintain as a wooded area, even as we get like all of SoCal moving up here, yeah? I mean, basically, like I would love to have a chunk of land that is big enough that I can leave some of it wild so that I could like hunt or trap game, or I could forage that area. Like if I could seed some various mushroom species in it, and so like have part of my land be basically woods that I can, use for the resources of woods. That's kind of what I optimally want. But it is going to be tricky, again, with all of the like people from more highly densely populated areas, or I mean, yeah, from areas that are currently just elsewhere, and then like it's increasing in population density in the nicer places to live. Washington would be my ideal. I could live in relative safety and still be able to road trip to Vegas and California for work. Yeah. Um I am really at this point leaning more toward Oregon, but I think that's just because um I think that there's just less available the kind of land that I want to live on. I just think that there's less of it in Washington. And I also think that more people are going to think of Washington before they would think of moving to Oregon. Just on the website that I look at land to purchase on, there is more available like housing on the number of acreage that I want in just that little area like between Portland and Eugene than there is in the entire state of Washington. So it seems like there are more options in Oregon for like parcels of land and like houses and stuff. I definitely recommend once you find a spot, you get in touch with the indigenous tribes of that area. They likely could provide you knowledge on how to accomplish that without negatively impacting the ecosystem. Yeah, well, so part of my goal as well is to positively impact the ecosystem by like I'm going to have someone come out and like not quite survey the land, but like discuss, is it possible for me to put in a pond so that I can increase the amount of water in the area, and then that'll benefit all of the plants in the area. People have done that, and then even the cattle of their neighbors, like their neighbors' cattle who graze on like grass that is affected by the increased amount of water in there, then like they are producing more milk. And that's definitely a good thing. And and the more water you make sure there is in the land, I think the more resistant the land is going to be to wildfires, which is going to be important. I have a sister in Washington, so I just ask her if I could be her roommate. True, that's fair. Speaking of plants, Baby Squid says I would like to get some Dictamnus albus, aka burning bush or dittany this year. Nice. It's a member of the citrus family and produces very pretty spikes of pinkish flowers. Gorgeous. There's more options like that in Oregon because of wildfires. They're much worse in that area. Be wary. It's in the particular area that I'm looking at, it's not as bad. But like, yeah, again, if you go further east, then it's, yeah, a big problem. Anyway, there's an entire other adult that I have to make these decisions with. So at this point, I'm just like fantasizing about the gorgeous wooded homestead that I get to live on someday, maybe. I'm fantasizing. This is how I prevent myself from feeling hopeless. This is like so you need to have something that makes you feel like, oh, I have a clear vision of the future. Because honestly, it really helps you escape that sensation of helplessness. Later, Violet. Oh gosh. Has anybody watched any good movies lately? Oh, Dialectics. Listen, I could have an entire conversation today about Dialectics. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh my god. I want to try milling up my own breakfast flakes from corn and other stuff. That would be awesome. We were talking about this in class today about having a life worth living. Oh, so were you in your DBT program? I've been thinking about DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, a little bit lately because I've been experiencing issues in my life. And so I've been revisiting my skills. I'm no longer in DBT specifically. I completed the program, like I graduated basically, and it helped me a lot with managing my symptoms of BPD, borderline personality disorder. If anybody's unfamiliar, it's not the same as bipolar. You don't call bipolar BPD. It's a different thing. But dialectical behavioral therapy is the only evidence-based practice for treating BPD, and it's highly effective. And if you really commit to the program, then you usually start to see pretty significant changes after about 2 years. And we've got some folks in the chat who are in DBT, and I always want to shout it out and say it's so useful because it's skills oriented, and it also has stuff in there that helps you figure out what exactly the problem is that you're dealing with. Like, I've been talking about it on and off recently. I'm just going and going and going and going and going. I'm just constantly doing stuff. Like, for a while there, I was getting off stream and then I would go cook dinner. And I already was editing and working and doing other stuff, cleaning and stuff, laundry during the day. And I've been doing that like all the time. And I'm trying really hard to stop doing that. And I looked in my book and I went, okay, I know that there's a dialectic in here about this. And it's apparent competence, where you just try to make it seem like you have everything together. You never ask for help. Like, it's an emotionally stifling kind of mode to be stuck in. And it's the opposite dialectic of that is like basically helplessness, like being overwhelmed and not being able to do anything, or at least acting like you're not able to do anything. So I've been stuck in this one corner of this dialectic with like fairly extreme behavior of go, 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 work, 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 work. And it has specific, it's like, oh, hey, so if you're stuck in this part of the dialectic, here are some skills that you can use. And then it's like, oh, okay, duh. So then I go flip to that part of the other book, the other part of the book. And I go, okay, let me reflect on these skills that I learned and double check what's the protocol, how do I do it? And then you do the thing and it helps. Amazing. This is the thing about like therapy as well, that you have to actually do shit outside of therapy. I've been hammering that point home, like whenever I get the opportunity, that you go to your therapist, and for some people, they really only need a therapist to listen to them talk and to validate their feelings. And that's kind of what they need. Or maybe they're able to kind of work out their thoughts better if they have someone to bounce them off of. But outside of therapy, if you're doing something that is trying to help you change your behavior or trying to like seriously materially impact your life, you have to actually do stuff. You have to start working out, and you have to like sleep better. You have to cut back on alcohol. Like, you have to have the difficult conversation that you don't want to have. You know, you have to actually do the things, put lessons into practice. Yeah. You have to learn what's effective, like effective communication. You know, if you need to ask for a raise, you want to figure out how, like, what's the best way to say that. You know, make sure that you're in an emotionally good place. Make sure that you have, you're being conscientious of the fact that your boss might have such a thing as like a bad time to go ask. So yeah, like so many different things that help you just know how to materially tackle and address your problems. I've tried to see about a BPD diagnosis, but I get told it's, quote, just trauma, which is odd to me because I thought the two were connected. Yeah, I mean, so my personal opinion is that borderline personality disorder, so what it is a collection of behavioral symptoms that have been clustered together and they've been called BPD. There's no genetic component that we've found. There's no brain scan involved. It's just a collection of behaviors. So my personal opinion is that BPD as a concept is just how we've chosen to pathologize the way that autistic and neurodivergent people express trauma. But it still does exist, and it is, yeah, like invalidation and neglect can cause BPD, basically. That's what the official documentation says. So you'd think that they would go, maybe your certain kind of trauma might be a BPD, but you just have to go over the diagnostic criteria with someone. But also, I could see why maybe a doctor would steer you away from getting a BPD diagnosis because it is still fairly heavily stigmatized. Like, if you try to Google something about BPD, what you'll probably see is a bunch of articles going, like, why you should never try to date someone with BPD and how to get out of the relationship with BPD. It is tough to find any like non-stigmatized resources about it because it is a treatment. It's treatment resistant if you are trying to use something like CBT. CBT doesn't work on BPD, so then if a therapist is trying to treat you with that and it's not working, sometimes they will blame the patient and say that the patient is non-compliant, which is what was happening throughout the entirety of the 90s. Like before we had DBT, regular therapists were trying to use regular therapy methods that sucked and may not have even been evidence-based in the first place, but they actively made people with BPD worse. So, yeah. You know that thing where people will brush their teeth really hard before going to the dentist to try to fool the dentist into thinking you care about your dental hygiene? I've done something similar with my therapist, like, hey, how are you? Great, I just cleaned my apartment, exercised, made a bunch of important appointments, and called my mom. Like, using your upcoming therapy appointment as an excuse to, like, do all these things so that you seem competent. That's kind of like apparent competence, is what we would call that in DBT language. It's also probably a bad idea to present the best version of yourself to your therapist. Yeah, I don't really waste time with my therapist. You know, she'll be like, "How are you doing?" It's like the first words we've exchanged, and I'm like, "Well, so here's what's been going on with me for the last 2 weeks. Like, here's what I'm thinking about today. I don't. I feel kind of crummy because blah blah blah. Uh, what if the best version of myself still sucks? Well, you're still not getting very accurate treatment if you're hiding behind it. But yeah, I love DBT, and I will talk it up a bunch. You know, even if you can't get into an actual DBT program, still having a DBT informed therapist or a DBT informed social worker can be highly beneficial. And you can literally just buy the oh shit, it's not over here. I put it away. You can just buy the teacher's handbook, the DBT teacher's handbook. It's like $50 or something like that. You know, it costs as much as a textbook does. And then you can find the forms online. There's like worksheets, and they reference the worksheets in the teacher's book, but they're not in the teacher's book. So you would have to like go online and find them. But you could literally just do DBT to yourself. Like, it's, you know, obviously having a therapist helps you contextualize and have more examples of the ways to use the skills in your actual real life, but you literally can just teach yourself DBT skills. In my experience, having been friends with several people with BPD, it seems pretty obvious when people are lucky and dedicated enough to have access to therapy and utilize it to work on themselves, and when people don't do that. Yeah, DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy. It's the only evidence-based treatment for borderline personality disorder. Don't recommend doing it yourself if you still struggle with massive self-hatred. I couldn't make it 5 pages without driving a pen through it. I mean, I guess it starts with the sort of assumptions of DBT, and the assumptions of DBT are like everybody is doing the best with what they have, and at the same time, everybody has the capacity to learn more in order to be more effective and more skillful in future situations. Like, all behavior is explained by some stimulus, you know, every behavior makes sense within some context. Yeah. I was talking about this recently with someone. I was like, here's why DBT is so great. So that's part of why I'm thinking about it right now. I love that time that a doctor tried to say I probably didn't have ADHD, and then my therapist was like, yeah, that doctor could be full of shit. Right. Silent says, I want to encourage everyone here to start being nicer to yourself. Avoid putting yourself down. Tell yourself you're proud of yourself when you do a little accomplishment. True. Even just being more neutral with yourself, like catching it when you're being negative, it can sometimes feel disingenuous to then switch it around and try to say something nice. So I will say, you can at least just put a pause on the negative self-talk. Even if you don't feel like you can come around to self-love, you can at least, yeah, you can just let neutral things be neutral. You can look at your cellulite on your thighs, like I'm starting to get, and you can just be like, yeah, that's cellulite. It just is. Instead of like, oh, look at my fat ass, it's so chunky. Like, I don't know, you could think something negative about it. And then there's like there's this tendency to push the idea that you should be like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, you know? You don't call yourself fat, you're beautiful. And it's like, yeah, but I don't necessarily need there to be a positive spin. Like body neutrality is a thing that could potentially be good too. I think it's a good idea to deconstruct that feeling of disingenuity though, when you've got the spoons for it. Sure. Yeah. It's just like that. I understand that initial, because if you genuinely like hate yourself, if that's how you genuinely feel, it can feel disingenuous to then start doing affirmations in front of the mirror saying, I am worthy. I love my body. Like, you know, saying that shit to yourself is hard to do while you're still in the thick of hating yourself, right? Um, so you do kind of have to, in a way, convince yourself that you don't suck. Mm, I love this idea. Mama says, I have the reverse golden rule. Don't talk to yourself a way that you wouldn't talk to someone else. Like, imagine if you said your negative self talk to another person. Most likely it would be insanely rude. True. That makes perfect sense. I want to be a therapist because I feel like I could be so much better than most of them. It's so hard. It's so hard to like hold your emotional space separate from what's happening with the person in front of you. Like, I could tell that it was hard for my DBT therapist. Like, I think that she struggled because she cared a lot about her patients. I just can't breathe through my nose, guys, so I'm trying to, but it's dry, so I don't know what to do. It's like there is obviously stuff in there, but it's dry and it's not moving when I try to blow my nose. So I guess I just don't get to breathe. That's great. Sorry, it's gross. Ah, I'm trying my best to not be gross, but there's only so much I can do when I can't breathe. Can't breathe. Yeah. Don't spend so much time trying not to be a narcissist that you forget to show yourself some respect. True. What's up, Peta G? You're here. We've been going for an hour, but we've just been chatting about whatever. Hasn't been a big deal. I found my first blown out vein on my legs like 4 years ago. Oh, like a varicose vein? Asked one of my GFs if she could try to refrain from putting herself down when we spend time together. And a year later, she thanked me for that and said it had really helped her to feel better about herself over time. Like a varicose vein. Yeah, I'm starting to get varicose veins on my ankles, weirdly enough. But yeah, I will unfriend people online if they do a lot of negative self-talk, which sucks because like I have friends who I met through my DBT program a couple years ago that I still have on my Facebook, for example, and I'm like, a couple of them I kind of do want to unfollow them or unfriend them maybe because they just are still in the thick of their struggle, their like emotional struggle. And I've been graduated from the DBT program for like 2 years, so to see people catastrophizing all the time, um, yeah, I don't know how to deal with spiral posting, and like it's not always really intense stuff, but yeah, like I just it feels bad to leave people behind, but at the same time, like it really does make things suck for me just trying to be online if people around me are talking negatively about themselves. And they're like, "Oh my god, I'm struggling all the time." And it's one thing if you're struggling with your job sucks, or you're struggling because you don't have that much money. Like I get that shit. I'm not going to unfriend someone who's struggling because they're poor or whatever. But if you're like, I hate myself, and like everything is just always crisis all the time, I just can't really do that, I don't think. Drink more water. Water is so good for you, babes. Click the like button if you haven't already. My goal, my first goal is to get to 50 likes. I'm going to be streaming for another couple hours. I just don't let myself on the internet when spiraling. Honestly, I don't understand people who are that messy. Like, yeah, I used to post online when I was having issues, and sometimes I still vent online sometimes. But if I'm spiraling, like, I don't want that to happen publicly. And that's not even just because I'm a creator. I'm not even that big of a creator on, like, Twitter. I have, like, 4K followers. Water! You just gotta be slightly more positive about it. Instead of, I hate myself, sad face, go, I hate myself, but less than I hate everyone else. Excited face. I only spiral these days if I'm on a trip of self-discovery and that spiral ends in resolution. Good stuff. Oh man, I think I need to drink even more of the water. 40 concurrent viewers. Love that for me. Love that for us. So, we've been here for about an hour, which means this is when we usually start to try to shift gears. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, I'm so burpy. This is when we usually try to switch gears to talking about whatever we're going to be talking about news-wise today. So obviously we have Florida mandates conversion therapy coverage. That'll be a fun one. Aaron Reed does have a post from a couple weeks ago about some victories that trans people won in 2023, but I'm not sure if we're going to go over that one. It's got a lot of individual bits of news on it. Maybe not that one, but there's a bit about Will Ferrell did a documentary about trans people. I guess like his friend came out as trans and then wanted to make a documentary with him. It's presented by Audible. We can read a little bit about it and watch an interview about it. He's supportive. He's cool. He's supportive. And then Chaya Raichik, who's the Libs of TikTok lady, she got hired at an Oklahoma school for some fucking reason. So that's some interesting news. Ty Turner released a video about positive trans news, and I appreciate him trying, but just how old and irrelevant most of it was made me even more depressed. Will Ferrell. And yeah, so the thing is that I think Ty only does videos that have a sponsor, right? Did the video have a sponsor? So it's probably that he recorded the video a while back and then it had to go through sponsor review. What's up, Kodiak Bear? Yeah, Will Ferrell is based now. He's one of those old guys that you don't have to be worried about. He's just a nice guy. But not like a bad kind of nice guy. He's the good kind of nice guy. Can't breathe. I'm trying to see if there's any other news. Oh, the Ohio Senate overrode the governor's veto in Ohio, the big anti-trans law that they wanted to pass. So they've basically made gender-affirming care illegal for minors unless they're grandfathered in. So, boo. Oh yeah, the Florida thing, it's to specify, it's that they are going to mandate that health insurance cover conversion therapy. It's not mandating that you have to do conversion therapy, but basically what it's going to mean is that if health insurance is required to cover conversion therapy as gender affirming related care, then but you know, there's all these issues with providing this care to transition for people, um then it's basically going to be the only insurance covered, the only approved, like, financially viable treatment would be conversion therapy, as far as the insurance goes, anyway. Oh, so yeah, that's the news. That's most of the news for today. I like him. Yeah, I don't think I knew that Will Ferrell was going to be in the Barbie movie until he just showed up in the Barbie movie. And I was like, OMG, I love that. Good to know that things I've known don't work since I was a child are being encouraged in my 30s. Honestly, Lord Byron, is like, I was like 14 when I started doing gay advocacy, and I've known since then that conversion therapy doesn't work. And here I am about to turn 30. Hopefully that means that there will be fewer transphobic jokes in comedy TV and movies if Will Ferrell intends on being an ally. Seems like if you're doing a comedy project and Will Ferrell is working on it and brings up, hey, I don't feel great about this joke, that probably gets a joke changed or removed. Yeah, I can't imagine if he has influence on the project that he would be willing to be in something that he knew had a transphobic joke in it, for sure. I do hope that that makes a difference to the culture of it all. And that also means that it's not just that his movies that he's involved in are potentially going to steer away from those kind of jokes, but it also does mean that he will socially have that influence on his friends who are also comedians and actors and producers and stuff. So, yeah, good to see. Good to see. But we'll do the whole interview thing and look at the details momentarily. Yeah, it's so weird that there are countries which have outlawed conversion therapy versus people making laws specifically encouraging and endorsing it. Stranger Than Fiction, I think, is my favorite Will Ferrell movie. It's so good. It's genuinely, like, it's such a great movie. I love it so much. Silent, reminding everybody to like the stream on YouTube. Very true. Oh, goodness. So I guess that means, yeah, we've got about three different main stories tonight. Let's get rid of that one. There's the Will Ferrell thing, Chaya Raichik thing, Florida thing. Yeah, we basically got like 3 main stories tonight. I think that's an acceptable number. Excuse me. I feel like I've heard about that. What's it about? Stranger Than Fiction is... it's like a mostly serious role for Will Ferrell, and Maggie Gyllenhaal is in it, and she's pretty cool, and Dustin Hoffman is in it, and what is her name? I can't remember her name. She's an actress. Emma Thompson? Is that her name? Emma Thompson is in it. So it's a pretty good movie. I can't tell you anything about the plot. There's like a twist pretty early in the movie that, like, you Like, I want you to just see it, you know? Yeah, Emma Thompson. Cool. Ooh, I'm currently in an Instagram comment argument about people voting third party instead of Biden. Thoughts? Um, my official position at this point is if you live in a swing state or in a state that generally goes blue, you should vote for Biden because that's harm reduction. And if you live in a state that is guaranteed to go red, I don't care what you do. That's my official position. Shakespearean actress Emma Thompson. She's wonderful. She was in Love Actually, and she was Professor Trelawney in the Harry Potter. What about Dean Phillips and the other Democrat? I don't know who Dean Phillips is. So, yeah, I guess my official opinion is that I wish that third parties, or, you know, when I say third parties, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth parties, I wish that all of these were more viable. I know that, you know, ranked choice voting wouldn't fix everything, but it at least would get us out of this hostage situation. Gayfesh, who we writing in? I'm thinking about writing in ranked choice, since my vote doesn't matter anyway on the presidential. I'll do all the other voting. I'll vote all the way down the ballot, but, like, I don't know. There's no reason, like, if I vote blue in Kansas, it just doesn't change anything for president. So, like, why? That sums up exactly why Dean Phillips is doomed. Have they tried to put up another guy to primary against Biden for the Dems? Let's have one big party? No. There is literally a perennial candidate in Washington state for all sorts of positions named Good Space Guy. He legally changed his name to Good Space Guy. Okay. He's the write-in candidate for literally any election in Washington state. Good to know. I heard that a bunch of people wrote in ceasefire now in the New Hampshire primary. Did they held a primary in New Hampshire? I'm shocked that there's any Democratic primaries happening now. I don't think I can in good conscience vote for a man. Oh, that's funny. Oh, gosh. Oh, God. Eh. With enough estradiol, we can vote for Good Space Girl. Everybody should try a little estrogen as a treat. Estrogen currently is making me very hungry, making it hard for me to lose weight, and making my libido just very, 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 very low, which is kind of a bummer. So estrogen actually sucks for me, at least right now. The tiger guy is running again. It was more of a for show primary. I just didn't even know that there were any Democratic primaries happening across the U.S. Luxander for president. I don't want to be president. That doesn't sound like it would be fun. I'm sure if it was foisted upon me, I would do a good job. But I would hate it. I would be upset the whole time. I would go golfing a lot. But, I mean, not really golfing. I would probably go, like, hiking. I don't know. I wish I got the libido lowering effect from estrogen. Yeah, it's pretty annoying. I don't really like it. Hassan for vice president? Dude, if I ran for president with Hassan Piker as my... That's his last name, right? It's Hassan Piker. Hassan... The tall boy. I would just go on his shoulders. I would just ride around on his shoulders everywhere. I would be like, hello, I'm up here. I'm so tall. He would be so buff. Welcome back, Uncomfy. Grandma not ready for yoga yet today. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know anything about Dean Phillips. Apparently I'm a bad leftist because I don't know anything about him. Dean Phillips. Who are you? I thought he wouldn't be eligible, but Hassan was born in New Jersey, so he could. Vote for Very Tall Daddy 2024. Actually, 2 streamers in a trench coat. The world's a mess and I just need to rule it. True. Bad horse, bad horse, bad horse, he's bad. My libido is low, but I still feel some type of way when looking at that content. Is that common? What are you on? Are you on estrogen? I don't know what your situation is, so I don't know if it's normal. I'm on E. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you feel it's like slower is what a lot of girls say. They say that their libido is a little slower. You have to warm it up a little bit. Ooh, I made some oatmeal with blackberries, honey, and cinnamon. Pog. That sounds so yummy. Ooh, there's almost 50 viewers in here. My dream for today is to get to 50 likes. So if you haven't already hit the like button, please consider doing so over on the YouTube page. I feel like mine's actually gone up since starting. I think I'm an anomaly. It's totally normal, I think, for like I don't know if it's a commonality thing, but it's like just some percentage of trans girls do get really horny when they're on estrogen. Maybe the people who feel like their libido is low are at like a low, like I'm taking a really, really, really low level of estrogen, and I don't actually know if maybe that's causing it to like not be super high in general in my body. I don't know, but it's a bummer. Hi, yes, I'm right here. Takes the estrogen and it all goes up. I think it's just that when your hormones match your brain, then it's easier to do horniness. You know? Wait, did you say on one hand earlier? Okay, no. On the one hand, yes. I wish people saw voting as a strategic move more than a representation of their personal morality. On the other 12 hands, Biden has absolutely purposefully made himself one of the most revolting candidates we've seen in a long time. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'm primarily holding on to the fact that it's a strategic thing, right? Our democracy is falling apart kind of either way, but it's going to happen slower under a Democratic president. So it's a harm reduction move. It will hurt fewer trans people if we vote in Biden. It will hurt fewer Arab Americans if we vote in Biden. I'm not saying that there is going to be no harm, but there will be less harm. So it is a strategy. At the same time, again, because I live in Kansas and my vote for president doesn't matter if I'm voting for a Democrat, I have the ability to be a petulant child and refuse to vote for Biden. But even if I lived in Washington, I would vote for Biden because I want to make sure that there's no chance that my state is going to turn purple. But yeah, like when you feel like it doesn't matter to vote for your guy in the state where you normally it votes for your guy, you do need to protect the majority you have in that state by voting for that guy. As annoying as it is. What's up, Mersh? Oh my god, I can't breathe. I am so sorry that I'm so gross. But yes, it's Mersh. The Republicans at my work call us the Democrats. Yeah, they've been doing the dehumanization trick for a while now. It's super great. So close to 50 likes. So close. Okay, yeah, I don't know anything about Dean Phillips. I had hoped Texas might turn purple within my lifetime, but at this point I doubt it. I have been hopeful of that the last 2 elections in Kansas. Sometimes, I think that it's that issue. It's the same issue you have across the country where the first votes that come in, it tends to be, so the mail-in ballots are being counted and the people who tend to vote early or vote by mail tend to be Democrats. So in Kansas, you have the same thing that you have nationwide, where at first it starts to look like things could go blue because it's, those districts with more Democrats start reporting, like, and unfortunately, it always goes, it starts to seem purplish. I'm like, oh, I hope, I dream, I hope. Because again, Kansas, we do have a tendency to vote in Democratic governors. And when we had the option to protect the right to abortion via a popular vote 2 years ago, we did that. We protected the constitutional right to an abortion in Kansas by popular vote. So, on that basis, hypothetically, Kansas could go purple, but just like everywhere else in America, we are gerrymandered. We can't go purple because of the gerrymandering, and the gerrymandered districts were challenged, and the Supreme Court of the state of Kansas decided, no, they're fine, they're not gerrymandered, and by the way, they will not be written again for another 10 years, so in about 8 years, they'll let us redraw the districts. So, that's why I'm leaving here. Like, I would prefer not to, but nothing is going to change here in the near future, and I would rather be somewhere else that actually wants me to be here. Hey, Jazz Dog. Hey, welcome in. Good to see you. A notorious community member who I have seen numerous times out and about. Wonderful to have you here. Thank you for the compliment. I love my voice. It's my favoriteest thing that has changed. But yeah, we're doing a little politics time. We're doing some politics. So welcome in, enjoy. I do have my stories. My stories. We've got a Will Ferrell story, we've got a Florida story, we've got a Chaya Raichik story. That's 3 stories. I love Lux's voice and don't hear it enough. Listen, all the VODs, I even just made all the VODs available on a podcast playlist. So you can now listen to this show on YouTube Music. What? Yeah, we're doing things. Did we just start the news? Not yet. Kind of, like, we should. We will, eventually. Your voice would make a good Vocaloid. I don't know what that specifically is, but I do know that you do music, and that's very cool. I would love to write music. Like, I'm very interested in composition, but I also don't have time to get sucked into a hyper focus thing like that. Vocaloid is like an AI voice. I have had people tell me that my voice sounds like a robot, which is, I always think my voice is so animated and lyrical. But I was calling a store at one point, and an employee answered, who I know is trans mask because I've met them at the store before. But when they answered the phone, I did first think that it was a robot voice, and I was like, nope, that's just what we sound like. Okay. Okay, Hatsune Miku is a Vocaloid, not an AI voice. Not an AI voice. It's probably the Tism. I don't think it is the Tism. You just gotta sing more Bo Burnham. I know. Listen, I'm in one of my I realized what the problem is, I think. Okay, autistic people in the chat, hands up, rise, hypers. We want hypers. Tell me, hypers in the chat, if you have the Tism. I need to ask you all a question. Do you all feel like, someone called me autistic, but I literally don't know. I haven't been diagnosed, but I have, like, so many of the symptoms and the constant struggle with not being understood or understanding other people. And I happen to really get along well with other people who are autistic, so weird. But I am starting to think that the autistic overwhelm is like a totally different emotional state than like, so, autistic people, pe- people accuse us of like not being able to tell what our emotional state is. But I think that the problem is that we experience an emotional state that other people usually don't, which is that like sensation in your skin when things are bad, like when the textures are bad or when the noise is wrong, like, or when there's too much going on. I think that autistic overwhelm is its own kind of separate, it's different than like anger, and it's not fear. And I don't like, there isn't another primary emotion that matches on to that sensation at all. It's not shame, it's not guilt, like all of these primary emotions, it's not that. So I'm just realizing that, yeah, I have, and there are days when it's worse than others. But the reason someone said something about singing Bo Burnham, and I was like, I can't deal with music right now. Like, it is so painful to me. Like, it's like, and it's so upsetting. But it's like, why am I upset? It's like the upset sensation that I feel is kind of like anger, but it's not that. I'm just like, I hate this and I need it to stop. I have level 2 autism. Alexithymia is a personality trait wherein you don't know slash feel feelings of yourself or others. Yeah, but I don't think that that's what autistic people are dealing with. I think that it's, just that we have a completely different. It's like, I don't know what to call this nebulously bad feeling. It's just nebulously bad. It just hurts, and it doesn't sound like anger or any of those other things. The physical symptoms that I'm having don't match up with any of the other emotional states. So, yeah, it's annoying. This is not meant to be infantilizing, caveat, because I know it certainly can be, but if I remember correctly, autistic people's brains undergo less synaptic pruning over their lifetimes compared to neurotypical people versus something like dementia causing more pruning. I don't know what that means. Like, I understand what it means physically. I don't understand what the implication would be for our experience. Alexa, they, themia, true. I had an ex who could not handle being around my singing. We later realized it was tism, but that was almost a deal breaker for me. I I think like singing without the presence of the music is different. Anyway. Oh yeah, alexithymia is what you were describing before with the not knowing feelings. Yeah, but I don't think that that's what autistic people are actually dealing with. I have synesthesia, and I feel like I have so many more sensory experiences and emotional experiences that neurotypical people cannot understand. I only experience synesthesia in the one way, which is that I can smell cold, but that's just because the nerves are all quite close to each other in your brain there. But it's really cool. And I think that it's neat that you have it and that it allows you to experience more things than other people can experience. Oh gosh. It is very like pain. Yeah, it I have had people say that online as well. I've seen people say that when autistic people are experiencing a sensory overwhelm, that it is because our nervous system is processing that input, as like through the pain pathways in our brain. I get overwhelmed in strange ways, to be sure, and have always just burst into tears over dumb things. And IDK, my skin has been itching for 33 years. Yeah, who knows? Could you be autistic? I don't know. I feel like your skin shouldn't be itchy for 30 years. Do you moisturize? You need someone to moisturize you like Cassandra. Kids are more prone to stimulation overload than adults, and one of the things that could contribute to that is pruning of synapses. But that's a very simple idea and probably not the whole picture. Okay, interesting. I'm surprised that Prison Break never called the main character autistic. I think it came out back when our understanding of autism came entirely from Rain Man. But in Prison Break, they said the main character had low latent inhibition, meaning he was unable to filter out sensory data. Interesting. So they used a technical term that means this person has TISM symptoms, but then they didn't call it that. I physically don't feel thirst like other people. When I was a child, I would have a lot of kidney infections because I didn't notice I needed water until my side or back would hurt. Oh, yeah, that's rough. I don't always notice when I'm hungry. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, yeah, I haven't eaten and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I probably should do that. That could also be stress. I get overwhelmed with lots of people talking. Yeah, I completely understand that one. I think Detective Conan is autistic, and I wish the anime and manga would just say it. Say it, you cowards. I'll make sure I have this stuff. Should we start with the good news? We've got good news. We've got a little bit of good news. I'm checking my notes and Twitter retweets to see if I have anything additional that I need to include. No, I think that I've mostly got all my stuff together today. Coffee suppresses appetite for me. I just try not to have too much, though. Yeah, coffee does help suppress appetite a bit. That's part of why I drink coffee in the morning. Same when Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is obviously an autistic. Obviously. Corpse candy, for those on estrogen, I have a question. Can it make your hands smaller? Yeah. I actually just saw a thread on Twitter a couple days ago of people showing the difference in their hands. And obviously, one of the main differences is that it's less veiny, but I do think that it changes some of the like muscle distribution or fat distribution or something. But I've seen like trans girls who've been on E for a few years have like delicate fingers, whereas they had like veiny big hands before. And it's like, how did that happen? It also changes the quality of the skin, and I think that makes a difference as to how dainty they look. Apparently, tea can make your feet grow. I've heard this as well. It is the connective tissue. Estrogen gives you less of it. It's why we get shorter on estrogen, too. I guess if, yeah, like if the connective tissue is thinner in your fingers, then it would make your hands, your fingers would look smaller. I have such short, chunky fingers. Excuse me. As long as I'm not just shrinking spontaneously. No, it's a planned shrinkage. It's a known shrinkage. Yeah, I agree. That's also why EDS seems to impact AFAB people disproportionately. It's because the estrogen, and my symptoms are always like, I'm not having a menstrual cycle right now because of, again, I'm on estrogen and it's stabilizing that. But if I am having one of those, then my symptoms are worse at certain times of that cycle because of the increased estrogen in my body. Like, I can basically know, oh, I think my period is going to start soon because when I'm at my peak estrogen, like my joints hurt and like my heart symptoms are worse. I was like, oh my God, why? So, had this ring before I started E, always on the same finger, fit snug, and now it just falls off. You can always get it shrunken later on. my knees have had more pain because I've been off my T and I have EDS. Right. Like, I sat on my ankle weird earlier this week, a couple days ago. Like, Monday, I think, I sat on my ankle weird, and it managed to hurt worse over the course of the night and when I woke up in the morning. And then it was, like, painful all day yesterday. And then I just kind of didn't notice anything this morning. So it's like, okay, just randomly some of my joints are gonna be painful. That's the life. I don't actually know if getting a diagnosis as a kid changes how much bullying you get as a kid, because kids have a tendency to bully autistic kids whether or not they have an autism diagnosis. Anyhoozle, man, Will Ferrell. That's the fun of being in your 30s, all kinds of random pains for no reason. This has been happening to me for years. It's like my hands will just randomly like stop working because like I'll do something, I'll grab something, even in a way that I've already done a million times, and it will just hurt so bad that I drop whatever it is. Um, my balance seems like it's getting worse because my joints just want to like be loose. Like I'll roll my ankle really easily, or like my knee will just buckle out from under me while I'm walking. So, um, yeah, it's so weird, and it's so many weird little things that it's easy for you to dismiss it until you start looking at all of it together, and you go, "Oh, actually, I guess it's not normal for people to roll their ankle when they're just walking normally." You know, like regularly. Like everybody rolls their ankle every once in a while. How far back does your thumb bend? I don't have a lot of these typical things, like, which is why I'm such a weird edge case. Like, I don't think I have like a hypermobile EDS specifically that it's diagnosed based on your symptoms and stuff. Like my thumb doesn't bend back that far, but my elbow hyperextends quite a bit. Um, and I have a pectus excavatum in my sternum, which is an indication of connective tissue problem. In addition to all of my symptoms, so yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. Of course, yeah, EDS is not super well understood, but you know, if you are willing and able to do the expensive genetic testing, a lot of the subtypes of EDS have a genetic component. Can't speak for autistic people, but I did get called a lot of queer slurs as a kid, despite the fact that I did not know that I was queer until adulthood. Yeah. They seem to pick up on your differences anyway. Almost all forms of EDS have some heart issues as well. Yeah. I mean, it's your connective tissue, and it's in your organs, it's in your vascular tissue, it's in your skin. I have like stretch marks in really weird places because of my skin differences. Yeah, it's quite strange. People with EDS also tend to have quite velvety soft skin, and my skin is pretty. I mean, it's like I've always attributed that to my skin just being really dry, but it is very velvety soft. So basically, just a lot of little things that again add up. Yeah, literally, connective tissue is everywhere in the body. It holds the entire thing together. Every single like, so my muscles will just randomly be sore. My legs are like almost always sore, and I'll notice it like if I'm in the shower and I'm just sudsing up my legs. I'm not even like pressing hard, but that is enough pressure for me to be like, oh, my legs hurt, you know? Almost as if it connects shit. Yeah. But people think connective tissue is your tendons and your ligaments, and it is. So joint instability is one of the problems, but it is much more widespread. Like I had like one of those meetings with a personal trainer, and he ended up recommending to me that he was like, okay, I understand that you have a connective tissue problem. So what I want you to do is this, and this, and like this I think you should do to failure. And I was like, this guy doesn't understand that I have like a muscle problem in addition to a joint problem. Like I think it's probably actually really bad for people with EDS or connective tissue disorders to work their muscles to the point of failure. Like I am not going to recover the way that other people recover from those workouts. So, problème. Oh no, Forrest. I always have to tell the story of how I was in line in elementary school and someone passed along the message to me, person wants to go out with you. And I said, go where? Yeah. No. You gotta, that's partially that you hadn't heard the phrase before. One of those workouts would take me out for a week. Yeah, like I don't even need a disorder for that. I do leg day and it feels like I'm 80 years old for 4 days. Just do it gentler. You can do leg day and just do it less. Just do it less. I find that daily 4 to 5K step walks keep my knees from committing treason. Yeah, when I go back to the gym, I'm just going to do the elliptical like 5 days a week. That's my plan. Is intense cardio and all in the legs. And then when I have lost like 7 to 10 pounds, I will resume going back to the gym for a bulk. But it is time for me to do a cut. As soon as my vacation starts, whenever the hell that's going to be, whenever I can make that happen, I will go back to the gym. People with connective tissue / muscle disorders have to also be careful doing certain martial arts because hyperflexibility means you actually are more likely to get hurt in holds and locks. Like if someone else is holding you, you'd think otherwise, but no, you won't feel the pain, but will feel the pressure and not know to tap or say anything. Oh, interesting. Yeah. "100% I just had not heard the phrase go out before, as in go out on a date. But I always responded to people trying to tease me like that, because I genuinely didn't get what they were trying to say, so they would give up on trying with me." I love that. It's the tactic that we suggest to people nowadays. If someone makes a sexist joke, then just go, I don't get it. Can you explain? And then they have to explain the joke. And that kind of takes the teeth out of it a little bit. So it's a winning tactic sometimes, apparently. I think one of the strangest things as well about a connective tissue disorder is how you are strong enough in your muscles to pull apart your connective tissues in a way that can really harm you. Like when you said, Anansi, about people with connective tissue disorders have to be careful doing certain locks and holds, I was actually thinking like, if I were straining to hold a lock on someone, like if I'm like pulling really hard, I have enough strength in my body, in the muscles, to like pull things out of whack. And I know that everybody can kind of do that to some extent. Like if you lift the weight too hard, then your connective tissue will not necessarily be as strong as your muscle. But it just, especially if I'm like gripping, that'll hurt my hands and my wrists and arms if I'm like gripping super hard. So I can actually like overdo just the use of my muscles. I want to learn judo so I can complain to Teddy Roosevelt. Oh, so I can cosplay. You gotta learn. How are those things related? I have to learn judo so that I can cosplay Teddy Roosevelt. By the way, Luxander, you should come to the slumber party this Friday night in our Discord. That sounds bad. I don't know who else is gonna be there. Judo is fun AF. You learn to throw motherfuckers. True. Yeah, just to be honest, that sounds bad. I don't... Listen, okay. The last time I hung out in any group chats online was like when I was in one of the trusted areas of the Xena and Poppy Discord. And the only times that I would really join was when I saw my friend Gayfesh in there. I was like, okay, my friend Gayfesh is in there. I'll go join and hang out with this group of people. And that was the last time I really tried to participate in any group chats, and that was last year. The year before last year. No, it was last year. I was really lonely. I have a date to learn some jujitsu from a girl next week. Okay. Smuggy. There is a TikToker I follow called Burritos and ADHD, and she's a personal trainer who specialized in hypermobility issues. I know you said you're not hypermobile, but she does talk about exercises that strengthen connective tissue and joints a lot, and maybe that would be helpful. Well, what I meant to say is hypermobile EDS is a specific diagnosis that is a specific subtype of EDS, and it is diagnosed instead of by a genetic test. It is a physical examination. And so one of those things is like, how far back does your thumb bend? So mine doesn't bend back as far as it needs to get a diagnosis for HEDS. And like, you have to have, if I didn't have this, but I had enough other symptoms, then I could still be qualified as HEDS. But like, I do have issues with hypermobility, just not in the places that you would expect for that specific subtype of that specific diagnosis subtype. You know what I mean? Does that make better sense? Well, I'll be there, true. Florida. Hypermobility and hyperflexibility is also a huge thing with autistic people. Yeah, why? There's genetics. My thumb goes flat to my wrist with HEDS, but there are a lot of connective tissue disorders. Yeah, exactly. We are the rubber band people. Sag. Okay. Will Ferrell. Let's talk about Will Ferrell. Good news today. This is the same article? That's the same article. I don't need the same article open twice. Oh my god, I am loving the block feature lately. I have been blocking so many people on Twitter lately. I'm just gonna doing a quick little run through. Just gonna block a couple people. Feels wonderful. Wow, that feels great. Cis is a slur. Blocked. Goodbye. Oh, transphobia. Nope, blocked. Cis is a slur. Oh, goodbye. Goodbye. Wonderful. Super cute. Love that. And another one. And another one. And another one. This is why people run blockchains. I remember someone once tweeted, one day Gayfesh is gonna log on to Twitter and realize he's blocked every user. And I replied with Thanos smiling in the garden. Fucking true. Oh my god, dude. Like, yeah, I would be so pleased. I would be so happy. Okay, we've done a little run through. We don't need that tab open anymore. Good. Ba-da-ba-ba. I had so many people blocked when they banned me from Twitter. You've been banned? Permabanned. I think you did it on purpose, didn't you? Like, some people are getting annoyed with Twitter so much that they're just getting themselves permabanned so that they don't have the temptation to come back anymore. I love how you look so happy blocking people. It's so nice. I'm like, I don't ever have to think about you again. It's so great. I love blocking people. I used to not do it very much. I don't do it very much on places like Facebook, but man, on Twitter, I'm just like, get out of here. Zionists, bye. Transmeds, bye. I had posted spicier things with no regard for if I were going to be banned or not. I love to imagine the block button as if I am exploding their head. I just want to never think about them again. They just fade into the nothingness of my unawareness. Like everything that I'm not aware of. Just like, woo. It's the ADHD exploit of I can just choose to forget things. I have forgotten whole entire people. I wish we could block people in real life. Truly. From the moment Musk bought Twitter, I started getting used to the idea that it wasn't going to be worth staying. Oh yeah, I didn't think it was going to be worth staying, and I don't use it actively. Like, I use Twitter to find out what people are talking about on Twitter. Basically, I'm like, what are we talking about over here? Is there any news? There's a Black Mirror episode about blocking people IRL. Like, you just become an unperson to me. I'm just never going to look at you or acknowledge your existence. I have no good reasons to use Twitter now that I have Blue Sky. I wish that Blue Sky was doing what I wanted it to do for me, but it's not quite doing it. People don't really... I don't know. I haven't figured out how to get people to engage with what I want to say on there. So basically, anytime I want to post on social media, I'm either doing it on Facebook or I'm doing it on Patreon or sometimes on my YouTube community page. Like, if I have the urge to post something, I'll post it to my fans. Like, I'll post it to people who I'm trying to incentivize them, or like I'm trying to reward them for associating with the account where I actually make my money, to be honest. Like, I don't really, some fan interaction on Twitter can be useful, and it does. There are people who have found my show because I've tweeted about it. But yeah, it's a dead platform now. In the Black Mirror episode, they just become a void of static. In The Dragon Prince, one of the characters does a big failure in her society, so they magically block her, i.e. make her totally invisible and inaudible to her entire hometown. That's painful. Oh, only her hometown, though. She's just banished from there. She can go somewhere else. Wonderful. What's up, Jane? You having a good time over there? Blue Sky has no algo. They just show you the posts the people you follow make or repost, and that's all I've ever wanted. I kind of hate that it shows replies in the main timeline, because I followed Neil Gaiman, and then I had to unfollow Neil Gaiman because he was constantly replying to people. Ooh, we got to 50 likes earlier. I wasn't even paying attention. That's wonderful. I hate missing a post. Someone I want to read the posts of. Like, I hate missing posts from people I want to see posts of because an algorithm decided I should see something else instead. I hate Facebook for that reason, too. Like, I wish that I was still seeing posts from all of my friends. I would literally have to go through and click and go to people's profile and start liking their stuff on their profile page in order to get them back in my algorithm feed. It's so depressing, too. Like, when you post on Facebook as well, like the idea that most of your friends might not see something you post because they happen to not algorithmically be usually interested in seeing that thing. But Yeah, like the idea that your friendships are dictated by an algorithm. Like, surely you only want to see certain posts from this person. Like, no, I want to see the times that they post pictures about their stupid hobbies that nobody cares about, you know? New Black Mirror episode idea, an algorithm, but for 911 calls. Mama Mephistopheles, I think that you just had one of those, like, fucking Oracle of Delphi moments. Like, you just cast the future for me. It's gonna happen now. Yeah, Facebook has a habit of pushing controversial topics down in the algo. Palestine has been a big one lately. I see some Palestine stuff over there, but not nearly so much as I see on Twitter. And then, wasn't that kind of similar to Minority Report? Was it? I have not seen Minority Report. I have not seen a lot of famous movies. An algorithm for murders. Oh, yeah, that it's like predicting murders before they happen. Future crime. Future crime. We need some future cops for this future crime. Good grief. Minority Report is free on YouTube with ads. Well, I pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't I don't need to watch it with ads either. Will Ferrell. 51 concurrent viewers. Wow. Thank you all for just chilling and hanging out. We are gonna do a Will Ferrell story real quick. Excuse me. Okay, I'm gonna look at this Vanity Fair article. Or it's Variety article. Creature features are fun. In this day and age, when we've had so many beloved characters, you know, just come out as super transphobic, and I say beloved characters, I mean such beloved childhood specials as J.K. Rowling and the various Harry Potter actors who have supported her, and you know, comedians that I used to really like. Ricky Gervais when I was younger and I was like a shithead atheist. I liked Ricky Gervais a lot, and then he just swung hard into the transphobia. So it's kind of nice. It's a little breath of fresh air. It's a little relief when someone who you didn't really expect to talk about trans people decides to come out uh, in support and be an ally. And in this case, our boy Will Ferrell. Our boy Will Ferrell has decided to make a documentary, and it's called Will and Harper. It's going to be premiering at the Sundance Film Festival, which some folks have criticisms of that, but we'll talk about that in a second. It's about Will Ferrell's relationship, I guess, with his friend Harper, who is a trans woman who came out a couple years ago. And this was Will Ferrell's kind of first exposure to trans people. It was, he just kind of didn't know anything about it. And he was willing to learn, he's willing to be there and listen, and is just generally not being hateful for no reason, which is like, again, it's bad that it's good news in the context of all this other bad news. You know, it should be normal for people to be trans and for acceptance to be the norm, but it is not that way. So it does feel good sometimes when folks are affirming. They go out of their way. They don't really need to go out of their way. You know, Will Ferrell could have just had this personal, private relationship and did not need to make this public statement, effectively making an entire documentary. So let's see. So there's an article and then there's a little interview. So we'll read a little bit from this article. Will Ferrell says that 3 summers ago, Harper emailed a lot of her close friends and she was explaining that she was going to transition. Everybody was excited to hear the news, and of course surprised. Everybody was very supportive and they expressed love to her. It did sort of open up questions like, how can we help you? What do you need us to do? That's some good friends right there. That's some good friendship. They're like, what can we do? For Ferrell said he had zero knowledge about the trans community before Harper came out to him. This was all just kind of new territory for him. Harper adds that this tells the story of a cis friend of a trans person who has to transition himself. It was like, I guess, about the cis person working through their feelings about their trans friend coming out. Which is, you know, some people are going to complain about that, I'm sure, and say, oh, you're centering cis people in this dialogue. But you need cis people to have relatable stories in order for them to accept trans people. They have a really hard time empathizing with trans people because they think that the concept of gender dysphoria is like totally alien, even though cis people experience gender dysphoria all the time. We just don't pathologize it. But you need cis people to have a reference point of, you know, what do you do when a friend comes out? You know, so this is going to probably address a lot of those pretty basic questions that people have. But let's watch this cute little interview. Make sure my volumes are all good.
What was your sort of, I guess, baseline knowledge of the trans experience before this very personal, it touched you very personally?
Baseline knowledge? Zero.
Okay, hold on. Let me take it back a second so that you can hear everything. Okay.
What was your sort of, I guess, baseline knowledge of the trans experience before this very personal, it touched you very personally?
Baseline knowledge? Zero. Yeah, I really, you know I'd met trans people before. I didn't have anyone personally in my life. So this was all, new territory for me, which is why I think this piece is so exciting for us to kind of put out there in the world, because I think it's a chance for, all of us in the cis community to be able to kind of ask questions that I know for me, it was a chance for me to.
That triggered people so much. Who is that next to him? That's his friend Harper, who he made the documentary with. But him saying the cis community has triggered people on Twitter hardcore. Like, that's some of the people who I was blocking a minute ago were going, oh, cis is a slur. There is no such thing as the cis community. I guess there is this conversation that sometimes people have that there's no such thing as the trans community because it's just a bunch of disparate people who don't all agree on, we don't all believe the same things. But it's like, yeah, we do have something in common. And so I think that might be one of the areas where people get tripped up at the idea of a cis community. It's like, but I'm like, I don't have anything in common with the rest of these people. Like, yeah, you do. You've got the cisness. You've got the cisness in common. Down with the cisness. And you do share some amount of ignorance, and you do have similar experiences to each other that are unique to the experiences that trans people have. They're different than the experiences that we have. It's nice to see someone rocking the overalls. Are those going to be making a comeback? I don't know. I'm not going to advocate for overalls. I'm getting into high-waisted stuff. Like, I wear leggings around the house a lot of the time now, and they're like high-waisted leggings. And I'm sitting there wondering, why did I ever wear low rises? How and why did I ever wear low rises? It's crazy how rare it is. Yeah, thank you, Mama. Exactly. It's crazy how rare it is for people to just go, oh, a new thing I didn't get before? Okie dokie, artichoke. Like, all right, cool. I don't really need to go into a whole thing about this. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Just go, hey, I love you. That's so great. I'm so happy for you. How can I help? Okay, cool. This doesn't affect me at all. Anyway, the cis community in such a tiz over this.
To ask questions that I know, and to also just to listen and to be there as a friend to discuss this journey.
Sure.
He's like, this is an opportunity for growth. I get to learn a new thing. I get to practice being a good friend. Like, it's good, quality, wholesome guy. I didn't realize that Will Ferrell was this wholesome as a human person, but he is. Will Ferrell, cis Riz. It's refreshing.
I mean, first of all, I love the.
Did you feel like I was a good listener or not really?
I feel like you're running.
The emphasis on listening too. That he's like, I was able to ask questions, but more importantly, to listen and learn. This is one of those things of also like, cis folks have a tendency to not be humble. Not very humble is a good way to phrase that, because they don't recognize that to some extent they need to submit to a person who knows more than them when they're talking to a trans person about trans people. This is the thing that people don't get. Like, you are here to learn from me. You are not here to make assertions to me about trans people. Like, that's one of those things that has always bugged me. Like, did you guys know that once upon a time I was on Modern Day Debate? Jimmy Snow dragged me and EJ. He politely asked us to be on there because he was invited to go on there to debate about trans issues or about non-binary people specifically, maybe. And so he was like, I should probably invite the 2 non-binary people I know to come be on the show. So I was on Modern Day Debate with Steve McRae and whoever the main guy is with the chin, and Jimmy, and then EJ as well. And that was like the first time I think that I really realized that is the dynamic that there should be a dynamic of, if a cis person is coming and talking to a trans person or a non-binary person about the existence of trans and non-binary people. Like, I don't know why the fuck you think you have any right to tell me anything about it. Because, like, I know about it and you do not. It's like Ron Swanson at the Home Depot. He's like, I know more than you. Like, I know more than you. I don't know why you're trying to debate me. I don't know why you're trying to tell me the facts of the situation. Like, humble yourself and be willing to learn. Is that debate on YouTube? I want to see Lux in action. It's not supposed to be a debate. Like, EJ and I did not really go into it. I think it was Modern Day Debate. Like, I thought it was. Jimmy made it seem like it was going to be more of a conversation. It's been years, so I don't know. I don't even remember. But yeah, I appreciate Jimmy. He's a cool dude. I need to message him sometime and just be like, hey, what's up? You're a cool dude. Thanks for being my friend. That was my ex-best friend's issue. He kept trying to tell me what was and wasn't transphobic when talking about things he said, and he could not shut up. Yeah, people need to just chill the hell out. So I do appreciate Will Ferrell just going, yeah, this is for me to learn about. I don't need to tell you something about your gender stuff. And he's concerned. He asked her just now, like, do you feel like I was a good listener? Like, was I a good listener? I tried to be, and it's important to me that you felt that I was listening, which is just so good. I love him.
Most of the
I feel
days.
like you're running for mayor here.
I feel like you're running for mayor here, she
I
said.
am running for mayor.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to point out, he did say an extraordinary email.
Yes.
What would you say?
He's really quiet.
I mean, in terms of craft, no.
No.
We're very workmanlike.
Okay.
But in terms of the announcement, extraordinary. Work lady.
Work ladylike. True. Yeah, just a cute little interview. Cute little bite of an interview with Will Ferrell and his friend plugging their little documentary. It's really meaningful just to hear someone ask if you thought they were a good listener. I don't even know how I'd react to that. I am demographically and in my life experience the kind of person who experiences kind of a perpetual sense of not being heard. Like, nobody is asking me about my opinion on reproductive rights. The country is just doing what it's doing kind of without any care. I mean, obviously I voted to protect abortion in Kansas, but still. And like, nobody's asking trans people what they want for transition related care. And it can be really hard to advocate for yourself and set boundaries and stuff. So like, I feel it a lot in my life. Like I am one of those people who's like, I just am not being heard. So I don't know how I would respond if someone was like around me and they were prioritizing being a good listener. I think that I would be suspicious that that person was trying to hurt me. Like, unfortunately, is what I believe that would feel like. Oh God. Completely unrelated, I guess, like tangentially related. I saw a post that said, if you grew up in a bad situation when you were a kid, be wary of people who feel like home to you in your adulthood. And I was like, rip. So wholesome. So much more reason to love him. True. We love Will Ferrell. He was in the Barbie movie, and I loved him in the Barbie. Very enjoyable. Can I get a link to that interview? I mean, it's just a video that was posted on Variety's Twitter page. So I'll link you the Twitter post. There you go. He also spoke over her gender-affirming trans misogyny. Yeah, he interrupted her like a typical man. Very cool. All right. Yeah, I don't think I really need to do a segment on the Ohio Senate overriding the governor's veto of trans care. Because it's like, either way, if they had overridden his veto or if he had gotten his plan pushed through, it was still going to be a restriction on trans access to healthcare. Someone said something earlier in my YouTube comments. Oh yeah, so someone commented on my, I posted the video today about how the governor vetoing wasn't a good thing in the first place. Like, again, I'm 2 weeks behind on editing. This person called Belladonna in my comments says, one of the more subtle harms of the push for trans genocide is that it makes trans subjugation, where cis people get to make all the rules about who's allowed to be trans and what we're allowed to do about it, and still treat us as a problem population to be managed and kept to a minimum. And that all looks like a compromise position, while it's still very oppressive. Yeah, that like trans genocide makes trans subjugation look normalized. It's like the conversation that we were having before about decriminalization versus legalization. Currently, trans care is for the most part decriminalized. It is not regulated. It is simply, it's not a crime. It's not being incentivized, but it's not being punished, right? And so now it's not like it's necessarily being criminalized per se. It's being legalized, which means that the regulation of such is being brought under the purview of the government, which means they get to decide who gets to do it, when it's appropriate. They can set arbitrary standards about how many specialists you need to have involved in your care. Yeah, the like, we'll kill half the Jews position. It's not the kill all the Jews position. You can't go all the way. I almost quoted Tropic Thunder right there. I was like, never go full R word. And then I was like, people are going to get upset for no reason. Oh no. That commenter is right. There are even trans streamers who push it. I used to know one well until almost a month ago. Wait, what? That about trans subjugation? What? The next step being pushed by trans medicalists? Oh, that it needs to be legalized in the sense that it needs to be regulated. Yeah, the trans medicalists are saying, yeah, the state needs to be involved. Is this... Okay, let's hope this doesn't screw me over.
Excuse me, but you look a lot like Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Is it you?
Yes, it's me.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cool. Welcome to the show.
No, thank you. I'm a big fan.
Ryan Reynolds is here. Yeah. 50 feet away. Cool. Okay. Sorry.
He's nervous. Look at how
Yes, I'm
nervous
good.
he is.
I'm just here to enjoy the show.
Yeah, of course.
That does
Right.
look like a bit,
Okay.
though.
So,
Now that I'm looking at the
anyway,
way that Ryan Reynolds responded to that.
Always great to be Hack in New Blork.
Yeah.
New York.
He's very much pretending to be starstruck. It's cute, though. It's still kawaii des. I identify as acoustic. Oh, dear. Oh, Jiminy Christmas. Oh, gosh. Stretch. You're getting old. Everyone's getting old. Day by day. You have to keep yourself limber. Oh, man. So we do have two more super duper intense, hardcore political conversations. Hard-hitting political convos for the duration of the stream. I guess we should do this Chaya Raichik one next, because if my web page keeps reloading, then the Rolling Stone is not going to let me read the article. You're older than you've ever been. It's true. I'm also the youngest I'll ever be. Kenzie, welcome in. Drink water. True. Oh, libs of TikTok. What a travesty. I'm contemplating taking that midstream, just step away, momentary break, and then coming back. That reminds me of a Mitch Hedberg joke. Want to see a picture of me when I was younger? Like, every picture of you is you when you were younger, even if it's just only a couple minutes ago. You were still younger in that picture. I think being 30 is like a great age. And it's not just because I'm biased because I'm about to be that. It's definitely not that. Oh gosh. Like, I wouldn't want to be trapped as a 20-year-old. If I were to turn into a vampire, if I could choose what age it happened to me, I would choose for it to happen probably now. Probably like now. As someone turning 30 next month, disagree, I feel ancient. Go to the gym then. Do some yoga, you'll feel better. You will stop feeling so old. I even have a lower back injury that, like, does change how I have to operate my body on the daily, and I still don't feel ancient. Dean Phillips sucks. Voting consistently with Joe Biden's stances and being one of the richest members of Congress. Take the L. It's not gonna work. If a vampire realized they were trans after being turned, would HRT work? I think that it would, you would just start, it would just be mare's piss rules. You would just have to eat only the type of person whose blood you want. Like, only estrogen blood. Late 20s, early 30s are the times when most people feel at their prime. Donations are not high enough for me to flex on stream today, but that's okay. Someone needs to write a young adult novel about this. It can't be a young adult novel about a transpire. No, has to be an adult. Is wanting someone's blood just a metaphor for sex? I don't actually think it's a metaphor for sex. There's a Philosophy Tube video from very, very shortly before she came out where she's talking about the 5 jobs I had before YouTube or something like that. And she's playing a vampire in part of that video. And she kind of talks about, what kinds of economic anxieties are being expressed by vampire stories, essentially. And it, it is about the greed of the rich and how they feed essentially on the poor in order to maintain their lifestyles. So sucking the blood in the vampire story is sort of quintessentially about being drained of necessary resources. Although more recent iterations have kind of sexualized it and titillated it, and it's more about, the tension of wanting to be with a relationship with a dangerous being, which is a completely different kind of, like, I don't really think there's any economic anxieties being expressed in the Twilight series. It's a completely different thing. I'm now imagining a bunch of vampire manosphere influencers talking about how all the blood other vampires are drinking have too much estrogen and you need alpha T Chad blood. Yeah, you can, if you're a man vampire, you can only feed on bodybuilders. Those are the only ones. Twilight's just about wanting that dead boy D. True. Gotta get that dead boy D. That dead boy D. I'm so low in the frame, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, I'm so tired today. Gosh. We should start this. I really rarely talk about libs of TikTok because I think that we should just kind of let her be irrelevant, but unfortunately she is quite influential in the right-wing sphere. Libs of TikTok, originally that's, I think, what she was called on Twitter because she was reposting videos of liberal people from TikTok. Oftentimes she just reposts videos of like a person who has colorful hair talking about how they have their students in elementary school get to pick their pronouns, and like talking about how, most kids pick the same ones every day. Some kids pick different ones sometimes, but they've like normalized it, right? Just very innocent things. Teachers talking about how they introduce these concepts in a child-friendly way to the kids in their class. And she is doing it to put a spotlight. Her name is Chaya Raichik, by the way. Her actual name, the account is Libs of TikTok. Chaya is the woman who does it. And she has previously been the reason why there have been bomb threats at hospitals. Folks have been taking her information about, they're transing the kids at these hospitals. People have been taking her info about that, her intel about that, and her spotlight about that, and they've taken the opportunity to call in bomb threats to these hospitals. It's unclear, whether any of these threats could have been something that someone followed through on. So, everybody has to halt operations, kind of no matter what, when there's that bomb threat happening. And she has now been hired by an Oklahoma superintendent to, she's the Education Library Media. She's going to be serving on the Education Library Media Advisory Committee in Oklahoma. Why hasn't someone sued the living hell out of her? I don't know. So apparently there is an Oklahoma culture war-obsessed superintendent, and he has appointed professional harasser Chaya Raichik, according to this Rolling Stone article, to the state's Department of Education Library Media Advisory Committee. He released a statement Tuesday saying no one has done more to expose what the radical left is all about than Chaya Raichik and Libs of TikTok. Hers is a powerful voice to protect Oklahoma kids from porn in schools and woke indoctrination. I'm proud to have her on our team. So she's one of these absolute crazy people who have dedicated their entire online presence to attacking trans people, and particularly to attacking trans children. And now she gets to work making decisions for what happens in education in Oklahoma. Rolling Stone says she has no background in education, and she worked as a real estate agent before her rise to prominence online. She directs harassment at teachers, doctors, hospitals, and other individuals who support the rights of the queer community and the need for comprehensive education on issues of race, gender, and sexuality. She is banned on TikTok itself, has also been temporarily suspended from Instagram and Facebook, and to be clear, she has also been temporarily blocked and banned on Twitter, and then Elon Musk deliberately unbans her account. Like, literally, she has special protection against violating the terms of service because Elon Musk happens to agree with the wildly dangerous crap that she's doing. Oh, I haven't even looked at there's like the Oklahoma porn ban that they're trying to pass. I don't even have the capacity for it. Like, we could technically talk about it, but I have so many other things. It's so crazy. I don't know if I have the time, but it's like, yet another insane thing happening in this country. Great. Having previously worked in education, I wish that the news of a partisan propagandist finding a career in education was more shocking. Right, at this point with, who is it, Betsy DeVos? She was clearly she's not in favor of education, but they put her in charge of the Department of Education when Trump was in office. Just deeply partisan. Walters, is that yeah. So the superintendent, Walters, has been, quote, working overtime to try to introduce the influence of extremist right-wing ideologues in Oklahoma's education system. In September, the superintendent announced that the state had agreed to form a, quote, partnership with the right-wing media organization PragerU. Oh, cool. So just like Florida, Oklahoma is now showing PragerU videos in classrooms. They're also trying to, quote, to remove, quote, woke ideology from the state's school libraries. And, of course, he does the thing where they equate queer content in general as being pornographic. I think that that's, like, the only way to really address a lot of these state anti-trans things is to pull your business out of them. Like, it's so frustrating to me. Like, we were talking about Will Ferrell posting the documentary he made about trans people with his friend. It's at the Sundance Music Festival. Well, that's in Utah, which they just introduced, and they ended up changing it, but they tried to start passing a law that would make using the bathroom as a trans person punishable with 6 months of jail. They've taken that part out now, but it was like the most aggressively restrictive and most punishing bathroom bill proposed since this whole mess started in 2016. And there's the, like, worthy criticism of Will Ferrell of, like, why are you, like, Sundance is such a huge festival, right? And it's unfortunate for Utah to pass a law like this, because it means that if Sundance Festival continues to be held in Utah, then there are hundreds, potentially thousands of film workers, actors, aspiring directors, like crew members who would not be able to attend and take part in the deeply important, for people's careers, very deeply important gatherings such as Sundance. So this is one of those situations where it's like, as an ally, Will Ferrell, why are you not suggesting that this documentary be debuted somewhere else besides Utah? But Will Ferrell didn't know anything about any trans stuff until his friend came out a couple years ago, so I, don't necessarily expect him to know about that, like about the law in Utah or about any of these specific laws, or that it would be the good ally move for him to change that debut, or to say we refuse to do it at Sundance until protections are ensured for trans people in the state of Utah, right? Like, how, like, if if your main industry event takes place in Florida and you're trans, you're like, I can't legally use the bathrooms there. I'm afraid to even be in public there because it's also like interpersonally more dangerous in those places. So you just lose out on the opportunity to network. You lose out on the opportunity to advance in your field. It's a career stifling thing to have events hosted in those places. So yeah, that's a good point with this Libs of TikTok thing, that like if you have assets or events happening in Oklahoma, pull them out. You know, it's the only thing. I remember back when Arkansas, the governor in Arkansas was viewing, I thought it was Arkansas, they were talking about passing an anti-trans sports ban and an anti-trans kids getting healthcare ban, and the governor ended up vetoing it because he was like, businesses are already threatening to leave Arkansas, and I can't hurt our economy by doing this. And then he was overridden anyway, I think. Like, the veto was overridden. But symbolically, he said, you know, this would be bad for our economy. It's the only way to convince these people. Unless they're the diehards, because plenty of these Republicans are just super, super, super committed to the bit. And they're going to be transphobic, even though that is demonstrably bad for their campaigns. But they will be sometimes convinced to stop doing this if it will hurt their pocketbooks. It's the only thing they care about. So that's the only way that we really meaningfully have to fight back. I honestly think that the economies in these anti-trans states are going to continue to suffer. Like, people are moving away very, very a lot right now, like faster, I think, than usual, moving away from these states that are anti-trans or that are becoming less habitable because of climate change. So those states are going to have fewer and fewer people contributing to their economies, and they're going to continue to underperform, which unfortunately is going to create the economic conditions that do tend to result in poor people signing on to fascism when fascism shows up and gives them a solution to all their problems. So anyway, Chaya Reichik and Superintendent Ryan Walters are both an active danger to any vulnerable children in Oklahoma, particularly LGBTQ children who need support and are going to have the adults who are tasked with their protection actively making their lives worse. Yay, Oklahoma. Oklahoma. Doctors are also leaving as well due to abortion laws, which will make things worse. Yeah. Like, if you are not able to even advise your patients, like, that's the law that passed, I think, in Ohio about against like trans youth. One of the things that it creates is a free speech prohibition on doctors even referring their patients or even suggesting that their patients should go. Like, they created this aiding and abetting clause. So if you're a doctor who sees a transgender youth in Ohio and you say, hey, we cannot provide you this care, but I recommend you cross the state lines and seek this care, that would be considered like aiding and abetting a crime, basically. And the doctor could be prosecuted. And it's probably there are similar things. There's like the bounty hunter law thing that happens sometimes with regards to abortion. So yeah, doctors being reported for simply helping, like, doctors have to start saying things like, I've heard Colorado is really nice this time of year. Like, doctors, actual medical professionals, are having to speak in a roundabout fashion like that due to these kind of restrictions on aiding and abetting a crime. A 100 years from now, we can tell the tales of the lost underwater state of Louisiana, where the rising oceans combined with pipeline-accelerated coastal erosion somehow gets blamed on New Orleans degeneracy or something. It's gonna be like that one episode of Futurama, where there's just like whole cities of toxic waste created mer people. Got some merfolk. Oh god, I have to add these things to my stream notes. Nope, that's not the right tab. That's the wrong tab. I need my stream notes. That's a different tab. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Okay, so we confirmed that today is the 24th. 1/24. And we did Will Ferrell Variety Interview, Sundance Movie, and Chai, Right Chick, Oklahoma. Cool. Oklahoma. Spectacular. Wow, look at us. We're doing it. We're doing things. Come back, chat. I need you. The Lost City of Atlanta. True, that episode was on my mind during the Titan sub story. Oh my god. I don't even think it's been a full year. I don't even think it's been an entire year since the Titan sub exploded. And it feels like it's been 5 years. Like, it feels like it's been forever. Ooh. Oh, sleepy boy. And we have one story left, and it is the title story. It is the only story we have left. What's the opposite of Fae time? What is the opposite of Fae? I don't know. Aliens? Is aliens the opposite of Fae? It's a spectrum. It's a much too complicated kind of graph. I don't think there's opposites of that. Oh, good grief. Okay. Oh, you know what? Water is such a great idea. I don't have a lot left, but that's because I drank it all. You gotta drink the water. Ooh, we're very close to 69 likes. That's very sexy. 69. Can we do it? I think we can. Wonderful. That's basically empty now. Okay. Gender Fae and Gender Fawn. Gender Fawn is not the opposite. I can see why you might say that, though. By the way, if y'all ever have any news that you want us to cover on the show, we've got the stream recommendations channel over yonder in the Discord, which is a place where you could be and hang out. It's a low-key, very chill environment. Folks do the voice chat thing sometimes. I don't really participate in those, but I'm so glad that y'all are making friends with each other. See, Parasocial, I can't be friends with you guys for the most part, but you can be friends with each other. Build friendships with each other. Build relationships with each other. Is Fae like a non-binary term? Fae is the broad term for all kinds of mythical creatures, usually in the Western canon. So like fairies, gnomes, certain types of goblin stories, like the idea of sprites and local superstitions like that from Europe. And so it's like Fae is the broad term for that, but it has been absorbed by some non-binary people as a way of describing their gender. Infernal time, 20 years in hell versus 2 days on Earth. True. Would the opposite of Fae time be banal time? I was thinking, is the opposite of Fae like human? The Fae invented Sprite. I know, you gotta be careful drinking that stuff in the woods. They'll come get you. Oh my god, we're so close to 69. Can we do it? So sexy. Oh my god, I have to do this stupid Florida thing. Yes, it did used to be a slur to call someone a fairy. It was a way of going after the effeminate gay men. Fairy. It was a pretty intense thing to call someone, too. But I usually think when people are trying to invoke fae, they don't necessarily mean fairy in that sense. Who invented Florida? We gotta beat them up. Get out of here. I always got called sissy. Sissy. It's an emasculating term. It's probably a huge part of why the cisgender people do not like being called cis. Banal, completely devoid of creativity. True. There's 69 likes. Look at that. Look at me. Look at us. We did it. Yeah, like the show is being held up by the pillar that is you as a community liking and talking to each other. You form the foundation of this silly little enterprise. Okay, I do think I should refill my water and probably go to the bathroom. So I will see you momentarily. I'm just gonna switch this so that everybody can see, okay, look at that, we're about to start talking about this. But I'll be gone for like less than 5 minutes, so, you know, if you want to leave, at least hit the like button before you leave. So I'll see you in just a moment. Gotta get some new water. Water, water, water. You need to drink water. Be good, okay? Okay, troublemakers. The plant is finally getting some good screen time. I know. Too bad, so sad. Fake plant, no get screen time. I need to change the background more substantively at various times of the year, so we'll get around to it. I speak for all cis people when I say that people who think cis is a slur are either maliciously lying or are in dire need of opening a book. True. But it's better for you to say it than for me to say it, because you are a cis. Ooh, I'm working on a veggie soup. Hella, that's so good. I'm excited. A green screen? No. I do technically have a thing that I could use as a green screen, but it's got a lot of holes in it. Through no fault of my own. Oh my god, I can suddenly breathe through my nose. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Cis people speak for trans people all the time. I think we can speak for them until they stop being stupid. Listen, you've lost privileges. Okay, so we have this story to talk about. I should switch back to this so I can at least introduce it normally. It says cis. Oh, so it's a slur stream now. I've avoided saying streams multiple times in this show. I guess I did describe myself as cunty, which is technically a slur. But anyway, look at that. We're at 70 likes. Holy cow. I'm only planning to be on for about another hour at the most, so I don't know if we can get to 100 today, but I believe in you. Oh my gosh. It's like we have this one last story, and then we'll kind of just chill and talk about whatever, I guess, toward the end, huh? There are lots of conservative cry-bullies anymore. They use actual slurs and then play the victim when people correctly identify them as bigots or use innocent words to describe them. Yeah. That reminds me of something I just saw. I saw Taylor Swift doing a little... It was just an excerpt from an interview, I think. Taylor Swift was talking about how there are some people in her life who are really guilty of saying something inappropriate or rude to her, and then when she reacts, she's being portrayed as the one who's causing a problem, because she was basically saying, historically women have been taught to sort of silently absorb the inappropriate behavior of men around us. We just, she was saying we've just been taught to grin and bear it, to just mollify a man until the situation is over, essentially. So, yeah, I think that there might be something about when you don't just absorb people's shitty behavior, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on this specific power dynamic gendered axis. It could also just be, if you are a kid and your parent is used to you silently absorbing... I'm sure that lots and lots and lots of people have this problem, actually. Specifically, yeah, where your parent is shitty to you a lot. And then when you start to hold your boundaries with them, they start acting like, why could you do this to me? I can't believe you would cut me off. Like they find a way to make you out to be the aggressor. You're doing something to them. Or they're like, oh, I don't you stand up to me, don't you dare talk back to me, I can't believe, whatever. It's a power dynamic problem, I guess, no matter what the situation is, where, yes, there's some person who's doing something bad to you, and they expect to just be allowed to do that thing to you, and when you push back, they'll do things like, yeah, portray you as the victim, or double down and explain why you are wrong to be upset at the way that they're treating you. It's like sometimes folks are just not receptive to being told that they're harming you in some way, or that you don't, even if it's I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. It's not like you're hurting me, but I don't want to be spoken to that way. And then they're like, oh my God, you're such a drama queen. Like, oh my God, you're making such a big deal out of nothing. Like, oh, you're distracting from the point that I'm trying to make. It's like, stop making your point in a way that is like also a personal attack. I don't know what to tell you. Darvo, yeah. Gender criticals on Twitter are now using the idea of Darvo as a Darvo. They're accusing you of deflecting and attacking when in fact it is they who are doing it. It's so fucking frustrating, man. My landlord treats me like crap, and then when I say something, she says she's being abused. Mm-hmm. You're abusing me. Those kind of people are the reason why I think I and other people hesitate to call behavior abusive. Like, I feel like I'm going to be told that I'm making shit up if I want to call behavior abusive. Like, you know, there are folks in our community, like the Sophie issue a few weeks ago, where I think her behavior was abusive before we found out that she was physically abusing her partners and then whatever else she was doing to her partners. Like, but I think that I and others probably hesitated to call it abusive. I would criticize the behavior and I would say I didn't like it and say I think it's harmful and I think it's counterintuitive. Like, I would use other words, but I always assumed that calling it abusive would be basically undermining my position, undermining my credibility in the discussion. So I can't imagine how victims feel with that same pressure on them. Like, it really, like, people are, like, they hesitate to call something abusive unless it's physical, which is why so many people end up in, like, relationships that are not good and, like, situations that are not good. Like, they don't, like, there's just, I don't know, man. I think people partly aren't good at confronting the idea that their intentions don't override the effect of their words. Yeah, like, and like, again, I don't think that people intend to be abusive for the most part. So it's like, if I wanted to describe someone's behavior as abusive, I'm not saying they are quintessentially a bad person either. But I think that there's also that equivocation where if you call someone abusive, you're like, it's like a statement, it's a stain on their name permanently. Whereas I think it's more like it's describing your behavior. Like, there's a difference between saying you're an abuser versus saying your behavior is abusive, you know? But I think that with so many things, people have a hard time receiving criticism without feeling like it's attacking them as a person. You can't criticize Christian beliefs without them feeling like you're personally attacking them. You can't, like, criticize someone's behavior without them taking it as, so you're saying that I'm quintessentially this other thing. It's like, no, I'm trying to criticize the behavior and get you to address it, because then you wouldn't be, like, your behavior wouldn't be abusive if you stopped doing the abusive things that you're doing. Right? But yeah, getting someone to accept that reality is quite difficult. This is why I say you're being stupid. Like, you can stop. You can stop. You can stop being stupid. You can. Oh, God. They're called donations, not don't nations. True, mama. I don't know what that was in reference to at this point, but yeah, it's such a weird phenomenon. All this crybully stuff. Hmm. Well, God, I guess we should talk about this dumb stuff in Florida. Dumb stuff in Florida. Florida is becoming like I don't know how to describe this. I don't know how to describe it. I need to think about how to set this up. I need 4 loves and 8 acceptances. True. I need all the loves and acceptances. Florida. It's really funny how Florida has basically become the Florida man of the country. Just there's always silly stuff going on there. We always hear I love the headlines. Florida man does crazy stuff and jumps off a bridge and lands perfectly in a T-pose on the top of a yacht. Like, I don't know, crazy stuff happening in Florida. Guy takes alligator to the liquor store. That and gradually every time there's news about Florida, it's some new insane thing that they're doing. It's some new anti-trans thing or anti-free speech thing or like something that's going to gut public education. Everything you hear from there is just bad news all the time right now. I hope Florida man is okay because otherwise he seems to be living his best life. That one man, that one singular Florida man, living his best life. No notes whatsoever. This time, the story out of Florida is that a bill has passed out of committee, I think, and now it's intended to go to either the House or Senate floor. It is a bill that will mandate that health insurance cover conversion therapy treatment for trans people, presumably. Oh, and it also bans trans people from updating their driver's license gender markers. That fun little thing. They'll make a bathroom bill or an otherwise unrelated bill and then just go, oh, also trans people are no longer going to be recognized as trans and can't change their gender markers anymore. Yay! So the Florida Select Committee on Health Innovation passed House Bill 1639, which will mandate that health insurers cover conversion therapy for trans people. And then also, the gender markers thing, and make it easier for health insurers to deny healthcare coverage for gender affirming care at any age. Okay, so so I saw this headline and I knew that this was going to be the effect of the law, but I didn't know that it actually was part of the law. And I would need to read it, I guess, to find the specific part. But Erin suggests here that this law would also make it easier for health insurers to deny coverage for normal gender affirming care, so hormones and stuff, at any age. So what this bill is going to do is it requires coverage of conversion therapy treatment, quote unquote treatment for trans people, and makes it easier for health insurers to deny normal gender affirming care, which basically means that if people are reliant on their insurance to get health care, like insurance already costs money and a lot of people can't afford to just pay the full price for some of these treatments. Like the blood tests, for one example, blood tests can be very expensive, even if you're just checking your hormone levels. And some people cannot bear the burden of that, and that's why they're reliant on their health insurance. So you're making it to where basically the only treatment available that insurance will cover is going to a conversion therapist, a therapist who is going to try to convince you or find some reason why you're trans in order to deny you medical care, essentially. Oh my goodness gracious. This is a 10-page long bill, so it's more in-depth than a lot of other ones that I've seen recently, frankly. There's a number of stipulations for trans care. One provision will require that any health insurance provider covering gender-affirming care will also cover detransition care. Listen, I think that's great, actually, because I have heard I have heard some detrans people say that it's tough for them to get healthcare coverage, like insurance coverage for some of their detransition related care. Like if someone previously had a double mastectomy, top surgery, and they decide that they actually want to have breast implants, it can be hard to get coverage for that. And so I think that, yeah, absolutely. I extremely advocate for that. I think that's a great move. It's unfortunate that it's one good move wrapped in a lot of other negative things. Aaron posits that the reality would be that many providers in Florida will be rejecting providing both trans and detrans care coverage altogether because the state law already allows exclusions on trans health care. As well, I don't know how you would prove that it's trans, that you're trans or detrans. Like I'm not really sure how the insurance company could be positive that you were, I guess if you had continuous care with them, if you originally got your top surgery covered by your health insurance and then later needed to get a breast implant, they would know that you were trans and then detrans. But I could see that being a thing where they're like, in order to avoid the liability of being accused of providing gender affirming care, then we're just not gonna do it at all. Yeah, actual healthcare for detrans people is the same stuff trans people need, and if they ban it, nobody is helped. Don't believe them when they say they care about detrans people. Yeah, I care more about detrans people than these folks do, and most of the time when I talk about detrans people, it's because one of them is being a huge asshole. But speaking to the topic in general, yeah, I like detrans people who genuinely regret it. That sucks. And like most detrans people are only doing it because they're not being socially accepted. And to them, I say, when you decide to retransition later, we will be waiting for you. No harm, no foul. Just don't be a transphobe, like while you're over there. Aaron focuses in on a particular part of the bill. It says, a health benefit plan that is delivered or issued to an individual or group in the state may not prohibit the coverage of mental health or therapeutic services to treat a person's perception that his or her sex, as defined in another section, is inconsistent with such person's sex at birth, by affirming the insured sex. So yeah, they want to... That's like the part that says, yeah, you are required. You may not prohibit the coverage. So you have to provide coverage for mental health or therapeutic services, trying to get you to affirm the sex that you were assigned at birth. So yeah, parents could enroll their children in those such programs. We would like that. We would like that type of therapy to be illegal. Conversion therapy should be illegal, but no, places like Florida are mandating that it be covered by insurance. And it's interesting that they don't regulate that either. Like, they don't regulate what's going on in these conversion therapy situations, I don't think, but whatever. Part of healthcare is covering the care for when treatment doesn't go as planned. So part of trans care should be caring for detrans people, even if it's very uncommon. That makes perfect sense to me. You absolutely should provide healthcare coverage for detrans people in any situation where you would be providing coverage for trans people. It's just good policy. It just makes sense. I don't know why you would... It's, again, this idea that certain people have legitimate gender dysphoria and other people don't. Like, why is the gender dysphoria of a detrans person not considered a medically necessary problem to solve? I don't understand that. Okay, let me see what else we got here. Obviously, Aaron points out that there's no evidence supporting the effectiveness of conversion therapy, whether you're talking about gay people or trans people. Like, there's no changing gender identity or sexuality. But you do increase the risk of suicide and suicide attempts when you put people through those kinds of therapy. overall detrimental impact to mental health. When she was asked about the provision, Representative Bankson, who I think is a sponsor of this bill, did not attempt to deflect or couch the language and said explicitly that this bill allows for conversion therapy. Are you mandating that private insurances provide coverage to conversion therapy? Is that what this bill would do? The response is, I guess it's a guy and not a girl, whatever. Basically, it makes sure that those who would desire to seek that have the option. Yeah, so conversion therapy will be one of the options on the table. Yeah, conversion therapy is a very effective torture method. So it's effective at least one thing. It's not very effective at getting people to desist at their gender or their sexuality, but it's, you know, highly effective at producing the kind of results you see from torture. Good old classic PTSD. Cringe. This was, again, one of those situations where they held hearings and they had way more people opposed to this bill as opposed to people who were supporting it. So it's just, again, folks not actually, they're going through the motions of listening to their constituents, but then they don't actually listen to them. Overwhelming majority of people who show up at these things are supporting trans people across the country, everywhere across the country, and yet they never listen. I would have a breakdown just losing my HRT, let alone being straight up put through the conversion therapy. Right. It's a deeply harmful practice. It does not produce, I don't even think it produces the results that they want. Like, people might change their behavior temporarily, but it's not like it actually changes your sexual orientation or your gender identity. So you can't, like, there's no evidence, I think, that it does anything except, again, people will say anything to get torture to stop. The kind of things that happen in conversion therapy are like electroshock therapy and like giving you medication to artificially increase the amount of serotonin in your brain. Like, they will do crazy things. And people, when you torture them effectively, yeah, eventually they'll say anything to get you to stop. It's not a reliable way to get people to tell you the truth or to get them to, like, do what you want them to do for longer than it takes for them to, like, just get away from you. I wasn't really planning on changing my gender marker in Florida, but to know that it is not an option at all, or might not be an option at all, or even retroactively might revert gender markers is horrible. Yeah. Part of why I want to leave Kansas is, you know, first of all, they've never had the option for an X on the thing. They only recently made it so that you could change the birth certificate. You've been able to change the driver's license with medical documentation, but they're taking away the ability to update the birth certificate and the driver's license. And when you go to renew your driver's license, it will revert back to what it was originally. I mean, like, I don't actually know how, I don't think that they're going to be able to, with one click of the button, revert everybody's gender changes. So maybe some people will be missed. But yeah, if you can keep the birth certificate you have if you amended it, to be clear. But if you wanted it, if you lost it or you needed to get a new one, then it would have your original birth sex on it again, even if you, again, went through the legal process of providing medical documentation to prove that you had the right to change it. So it's kind of like how it's weird. It's actually worse than when gay marriage was briefly legalized in California and then it was made illegal again. Well, the gay people who got married while it was legal in that window, their marriages weren't nullified when gay marriage was then made not legal again. So it's actually more fucked up that we are having, like, we made a change to our documentation legally, and now it's being retroactively revoked, even though we followed the legal procedure at the time. So, like, I don't actually think that that's okay, but whatever. Yeah. But it's one of those things. They just slip it into these mostly unrelated bills. It's a trans-related bill, and also, by the way, you can't update your ID anymore. So good luck getting a job or an apartment if you're being outed constantly every time you have to produce your identification for someone. Good luck getting harassed by transphobic police. Yeah, gotta love this Christian nationalism that we're living through. So very Christian. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. We did it. We did it. We did another segment. Look at us. I don't know why I feel so crummy today. I'm just like super duper tired. It's weird. These laws destroy my mental health. I know. I know. There's a reason why I'm planning to take a vacation as soon as I can realistically do that. I just have to work my ass off a lot for a short period of time and then plan out my schedule for the next couple weeks, or week or two, whatever, however long it ends up being. And then your boy's going to take a little mini break so that I don't lose my mind. And then when I come back, everything will be smooth. Everything will be amazing. There will be no more problems. I will take one vacation and all of the problems will be solved. Salute. Okay, what silliness can we engage in for the next couple minutes? My work is my vacation. My school is my work. My leisure time is stressful worry about the stuff I should be doing. I have started working on a project, and I think I'm going to keep it mostly secret so that I can do a grand reveal at some point. But I'm working on an article of clothing to make for myself. I'm making myself an item of clothing with my crochet skills. And I need to finish this mushroom. Where's the bottom of the mushroom? I don't know where anything is. Nope. Oh, hey, I found it. It's dangling off the side of my desk. I still need to take the time and make these mushrooms into mushrooms because they're disconnected still. The buy shrooms, and then I gotta post them on my store and make a little bit of money. Good stuff. Yeah, learning to let leisure time be leisurely is high-key difficult. Yeah, but I feel like I'm gonna lose my marbles. So I need to take a break. And then when I come back, I'll be like, okay, now we've got this. I'm rested. There's gonna be so much to catch up on. Even if I'm only gone for a week, there's gonna be so much. Ooh, I'm learning to spin wool soon. That is really exciting. Ooh, okay, so your mom has a business and you learning is going to be a business expense for her. Hell yeah, get a free skill. I'm thinking about taking a sewing class. It's not inexpensive, but it's like, I would like to know better how to use my sewing machine. Well, there's like a sewing machine class, but then there's a hand sewing class. I don't know. Which one do you think I should do? I guess the sewing machine one would kind of... I don't know. I can't decide. I'll have to figure it out. Adults really do need a summer vacation. Yeah, it would be great if I could take a good chunk of time off, but it would hurt my channel in so many ways. So I only get as much time as I can schedule out content for. And like the most I can do is schedule that content maybe to go out every other day instead of every day, and that can elongate my vacation by a little bit, but I can't take too much time off of actively streaming because donations are a part of the income, of course. If shit hits the fan, at least you know how to hand sew. That's kind of what I was thinking. Learn both if possible. Yeah, but if it's like a class that costs money, I might have to choose between one or the other. I'm studying to be a teacher, and I cannot imagine having those breaks to work toward and look forward to. Yeah. The thing, yeah, again, if you're self-employed, you have to pay for your own vacations. Like, there's no paid vacation time. I have to make it happen. I took sewing and home economics in junior high. Learning how to operate the machine and follow patterns was the essence of it. Darts were the difficult part with an elastic. If cost is an issue, hand sewing would be the one to go for. I feel like the sewing machine class also was like more teaching you like not only how to use the machine, but also how to put together clothes. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'll do one now and the other one later. Maybe that's how I'll justify it to myself. I'll do one in the spring and one in the fall. It's like some sewing classes that I've discovered recently. True. Yeah, 13 to 19 years of your life, you are trained to have summer vacations, long, long, long breaks. And then suddenly we just have to forget about that. Like, okay, cool. We learned all the parts of the machine and how to change needles. I want to know, I know that you're supposed to use different sewing needles for different materials, but I don't know which ones are for what. So I've just been using the same sewing needle and probably it's really dull. So anyway. Oh boy. I know, bring back summer vacation. I don't even need like a full universal basic income. If I had like, if the universal basic income was just like enough income to cover a couple months of the year so that I could just take like 8 weeks off, oh my God. I might not take the entire 8 weeks at once. It might be more like 2 weeks at a time, several times a year, but oh my God, it would feel so good. I'm a barbarian with my needle and will use it until it breaks. Try YouTube. It's really hard for me to learn practical things like that from YouTube videos. I find it really hard to retain information and like pay attention. That's why I'm considering taking a class, because it's like I know I could teach myself by watching it on YouTube, but it would be way easier if someone was just explaining it to me. Like there's an entire vocabulary that I don't have. Different weaves and fabric as well as methods require different needles, but play around and see what works. Thankfully, multi-packs are cheap. But I don't know what the difference is. Yeah. So it would just be easier if someone explained it to me. I'm writing a book. That's exciting, Alexis. Yes, we did hear about Project 25. Look up a quilting store in your area and talk to the old lady that runs it. True. Yeah, if my mother-in-law didn't live so far away, I would just have her teach me. Really. Avi, good luck getting your IUD replaced tomorrow. That sounds like a bad time for me, but I hope that it's good for you. At least neutral for you. Old-fashioned foot pump Singer sewing machines are best for leather goods. I learned that from a shoemaker. Oh, I'm being drugged for it? I'm so jealous. We have a wonderful quilt store in our town, and she's going to restart the quilting club at the school, hopefully to get the kids sewing again. Yes, teach those kids practical skills. My great-grandma had an old-fashioned foot pump one. I love how, I mean, I guess it's kind of necessary for the action to be at your feet because you're busy with your hands. But, you know, the fact that sewing machines, you make them start and stop with the pedal. Like, at least I assume, like, the one that I have, which is from the 80s, I think. I have a sewing machine from the 80s. And it is, it's, you know, you press the little foot pedal to make it start and stop, which is kind of like trying to simulate the foot pump action of the ones that you needed to do manually. Right now, I'm creating the most badass beat ever. Jazz Dog, I love your beats. Like, it's easily one of the coolest little tidbits about the leftist community that I like when you remix Vosh. That's pretty funny shit. Yeah, it's good stuff. Just gotta go to the local fabric store. I want to learn how to tailor my own clothes, but I feel like I can't ask someone who knows how to do it without seeming like I want to take business away from them. Well, if it's a really old person, they're probably going to be more thinking along the lines of, this is a dying craft, and I'm glad that a young person is trying to learn it. The meme songs are a medium in which I can promote my real songs. True, yeah. My dad is trying to push electronics making and repairing and amateur radio for emergency service volunteering on his local teens. Turns out teens think using old World War II radios to help people is cool. You have to make things cool. You have to make things exciting. I'm really enthused. I think it's actually going to be warm enough next week. I've been, a friend of mine has a teenage kid who got like a crochet set, like a crochet something or other for Christmas. And the kid was having a really hard time understanding the instructions that it came with, basically. Like was really struggling to get it and was feeling frustrated. And so I offered that I could come out and physically teach them in person because they don't live too far. And but I wanted to do it outside. I don't really want to be inside someone else's house. Even if I'm wearing a mask, that's too much. But I could easily go chill outside. And I think next week it might be warm enough. So I'm so enthused that I get to show someone young how to do a skill that I have. Like I remember with way more clarity than I think I should being taught how to crochet when I was 12 or however old I was, you know? So feels good, man. I don't want other people's business, but I don't want to have to bring my own stuff in and have to figure out the 9-to-5 schedule just to make my pants not so long. Yeah. I think I might go ahead and do the sewing machine class because I think it also tells you how clothes are put together and like how to potentially resize clothes and things like this. So, yeah. I think the main thing is that I don't have a serger. If this is a sewing thing, because most materials now, if I were to try to alter my own clothes, most of my clothes are like a slightly stretchy material, and you have to have a different machine for that. And I don't think my sewing machine has a serger function. Controversial, but knee pedals for sewing machines are the way to go. Like under the table, pressing your foot up. Interesting. In the apocalypse, teaching people to crochet would be a good exchange of goods. I'm going to be producing so many more valuable things than the skill of crochet. Like, the crochet items themselves, I think, would be of greater value to most people than the skill of crochet. If I had a larger space, I would love to learn how to make a larger tool like lathe. Oh, man, that would be good. Early spring. I am so excited to... I'm going to get some seeds soon, and I'm going to plant some peppers indoors and let them, you know, germinate inside. But I'm probably not going to plant anything until like March, and then the last frost should be sometime in April. I'm so excited to have a garden. It's going to be so good. I'm teaching my friend trombone lessons, and they're teaching me French horn lessons, just bartering lessons. Yas. I'm laughing because this laid-back stream is in total contrast to the absolute monster of a song I'm making. Oh god, the tonal dissonance. I saw earlier, did Gayfesh say, I don't know if he's still here, watching like me stream and Vosh stream at the same time. The ADHD working overtime. I'm working on germinating some giant sequoias in the refrigerator right now. I admire that so much. Those, like, planting sequoias, especially if you're planting them from seed, like, those are some trees that you are never going to see the mature versions of. I love that. I don't make music. Jazz Dog makes music. Jazz Dog in the website chat. Not me. That's Jazz Dog. I want to plant some of those sequoias on our property because the range for them is going to move north a bit, and I want to see them planted now. That's a really good idea. Because, yeah, it's a little bit too warm there for now. Or, sorry, it's too cold for them there right now. It's warm enough in California, and it will be too warm in California soon. So you might as well plant them now. Hell yeah, dude. Oh my goodness. Well, I know it's a little bit early, but I'm tuckered out and I need to go eat some dinner. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.